What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 6WF Chapter 181. That kid Minato is going to be a 5th Hokage? It's not bad, it can be regarded as fulfilling his childhood ideals. But I didn't expect that Tsunade guy would actually abdicate, well, but it's not a surprising thing. In a hotel in a small village in the north of Unokuni, Jiraiya, who has traveled all over the world for many years, is writing his pornographic novels while watching the letters sent by Namikaze Minato with the toad summoning beast at the table. Above, Namikaze Minato invited Jiraiya, who is a teacher, to attend his succession ceremony. Seeing that his disciple was qualified for the position of 5th Hokage, Jiraiya couldn't help but sigh. But he didn't plan to return to Konoha, how to say. I feel that the lively atmosphere is not suitable for me. And he also heard about it from Xuan Che. Conan, one of his disciples who taught in the Rain Country, is managing Rain Shinobi Village. But what happened to the trio, Jiraiya didn't know. He intends to find an opportunity to go to the country of rain to see the situation. When I think of Xuan Che, Jiraiya thinks of his marriage to Tsunade. And there is also a Mizukage second room. Oh nine, this guy, life is too comfortable, right? Then, what is that? Burning up. Just as Jiraiya was packing up and preparing to go to the land of rain. Just listen to the cries of shock from the villagers outside the hotel. Jiraiya put his hands on the edge of the window, and his upper body leaned out to look out the window. The scene immediately greeted him with shocked. Northern skyline, clouds. No, the sky was dyed fiery red. Looking at the end of the horizon that I wanted to penetrate, I could vaguely see a part of the flames that seemed to burn through the sky. What's the matter? Fire. How big is the range? Oh my god. Just don't spread to us, not necessarily, but prepare to evacuate. The villagers who were frightened by this scene ran home one after another, packed up and prepared to take refuge in the village. Such an exaggerated flame, could it be? The battlefield of the Third Ninja War appeared in Jiraiya's mind. After swallowing a mouthful of saliva, he thought. That direction is the Kingdom of Thunder, won't it? Advertisement. Thinking of this, Jiraiya no longer hesitated. He jumped out of the window and ran towards the north. Hey, that white hair, didn't pay yet. At this time, the store yelled from behind him. Oh, I'm sorry. Jiraiya turned back in embarrassment and handed over a wad of banknotes. A few hours later. Well, this is too exaggerated, right? Within Thunder Country, Jiraiya no longer knows how many times he wiped the sweat from his face. If he had watched Journey to the West, he would definitely feel the pain of Teacher Lu looking through the Flame Mountain. Thunder Country is originally a country with extremely high altitude formed by mountains. Many villages are built on the mountains, and now, this chain of mountains is one after another. Has completely turned into a mountain of flames. As Jiraiya went deeper, he found that the situation near Unokuni just now was still good. The closer you get to Cloud Shinobi Village, the more vigorous the flame burns. Especially the several high hills that circle around Cloud Shinobi Village have completely burned up. In front, it is Cloud Shinobi Village. Jiraiya will be soaked in sweat, but due to the surrounding heat, the dried handkerchief will be thrown into the fire nearby. Over the mountains, look down. Immediately, he saw a scene more terrifying than everything he had seen before. Ash. That's right, Cloud Shinobi Village is built on several chains of mountains. It's not as corroded by flames like the surrounding mountains. It was directly burned to ashes. The scorched mounds and the houses turned into ruins were huddled together in a mess. Around here, countless Cloud Shinobi ninjas collapsed to the ground. I don't know if it is dead or alive. Wow, around, there are children and women crying constantly. What about Raikage? Where is the Raikage building? Advertisement. Although Jiraiya is not a Cloud Shinobi ninja, even in the last ninja war, Cloud Shinobi and Konoha were still hostile. But I was also very scared by such a picture. He turned his head quickly, trying to find the Shadow Administrative Building that represents the highest authority in Shinobu Village. When Jiraiya set his sights on the tallest mountain in the chain of mountains. Finally found it, the big building with the word, Thunder, printed on it. However, bang. In the next instant, the top floor of the building was smashed. Several figures flew out of it and fell to the ground fiercely. There are a few young faces that Jiraiya doesn't know, but one of them, Jiraiya, is very familiar. Lava-style blood succession limiter, soil platform. The right-hand man of Third Raikage. In the Third Ninja World War, his strategy also caused a lot of trouble to Konoha. At this moment, a figure slowly walked out of the gap in the Raikage building. Beside, followed by another small and exquisite follower. Xuan Che. Although I had an expectation in my heart when I entered the Kingdom of Thunder. But when he really saw it, Jiraiya still couldn't help but tremble. Xuan Che squinted and said with a dumb smile. This is the second time I went abroad to meet you by chance, right, Jiraiya? This is the first time I have met since I married Tsunade. Can you not mention Tsunade's marriage? Give the first love to a 5-year-old man the last few words of affection. What the hell is it? Jiraiya jumped in front of Xuan Che, glanced at the terrible Cloud Shinobi Village and asked Xuan Che. Cloud Shinobi Village with the strongest Raikage and 2 perfect Jinchuriki, even Xuan Che, it is impossible to ruin this place like this. What's more curious about Jiraiya is the reason Xuan Che did it. Hinata quietly retreated behind Xuan Che, hugging his trouser legs. Like Tsunade-sama, the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya-sama. Master Xuan Che said to stay away from him. Xuan Che's warning sounded in Hinata's heart. Reikage and the two beasts are not there, but although they are, the result is the same. Xuan Che brought out the Da Yu Hung sister Sam Yi, who was almost intact except for mild burns from the rear. I hate to explain troublesome things. If you want to know anything, just ask her. Thank you for reading this story at MTLA chapter 182. Jiraiya, an old gangster who has been in the 18 forbidden sites for many years, when he saw Sam Ina's pair of car lights. It was instantly recognized that the potential of this girl was not inferior to Tsunade. Tisk tusk, Xuan Che, you guys are not authentic, you are married and are still in trouble outside. Jiraiya squeezed his chin and teased. Xuan Che was too lazy to take care of the goods, stepped forward and kicked on the soil platform and said. You should be very clear about what I am going to do, don't I need to say more? Same as Darui, she and others. Tutai, which was severely burned all over his body, barely opened his eyes and felt a strong burning sensation with every breath. Why do you know our plan is? Uchiha, betrayed. Jiraiya, who was still busy admiring the car lights behind, heard this, his face suddenly changed, and he hurried up to ask. Uchiha? What does Uchiha do? Now I ask you to do something, you are not qualified to ask me questions. Xuan Che pressed Zanpakuto to Darui's neck, say one more word of nonsense, and I will chop off his head. Don't, stop, Tutai's burned face instantly turned pale. Darui was selected as the candidate for the next Reikage after I. Now Cloud Shinobi Village is destroyed like this by Xuan Che. If you lose another Reikage successor, the consequences will be disastrous. I am going to fix a book and notify Master Reikage. Tutai resisted the severe pain on his body and stood up and said. At the same time, inside Konoha village. Uchiha Itachi killed nearly 200 members of the Uchiha clan above the Chunin level, including the patriarch Uchiha Fugaku. Has exploded in the whole village. Tsunade, who currently holds the position of Hokage, immediately designated Uchiha Itachi as an S-rank rebel in accordance with the original plan. And dispatched Uchiha Shisui to pursue. But in fact, including Namikaze Minato, Hitaki Shumo and other high-level backbones are all aware of it. This is just a show. It is not so much about chasing Uchiha Itachi as it is for Shisui to safely escort him out of the country of fire. At the moment, Konoha's high-level decision-making team is already in trouble because of a scroll submitted by Uchiha Fugaku before his death. Advertisement. This scroll is equivalent to Uchiha Fugaku's suicide note. On this, Uchiha Fugaku explained, Uchiha Madara acts as an intermediary and unites Cloud Shinobi Village headed by 3rd Reikage. They have dispatched most of them to sneak into the border zone of the country of fire. When Namikaze Minato's succession ceremony began during the day, he and Uchiha would join in and out and attack Konoha. After learning of this, Tsunade and others were taken aback. If this plan is really implemented successfully, even if Konoha was not badly hit, at least half of the country of fire will be swallowed by the flames of war. Obito is poisonous. Tsunade screamed. The Uchiha Madara in the suicide note is definitely Uchiha Obito. Tsunade is 100% sure. In the office, Namikaze Minato as his teacher, Kakashi, Yurihong, Rin Nohara and others as classmates. A bit of embarrassment flashed in his eyes as well. Obito, how did you become like this? Although Uchiha has been resolved now, Cloud Shinobi has sneaked into the border of the country of fire. Namikaze Minato eagerly said, Master Tsunade, Chief Fugaku's suicide note does not specify the location of Cloud Shinobi's ambush. Now we can only send a large force to search for it. The succession ceremony has to be postponed. Hitaki Shumo interface. After all, Uchiha's incident is also a major event, and it's really not the time to take over. Tsunade nodded. Just about to order. Bang! A cloud of smoke suddenly dispersed beside Namikaze Minato, and a toad, sitting cross-legged on a long scroll, suddenly appeared. Namikaze Minato turned his head in surprise. Mr. Toad, why are you here? Jiraiya has a letter for me to hand it to you. Toad Yin took a letter from the scroll under him and handed it to Namikaze Minato. That fellow Jiraiya. It hasn't been back to the village for many years. What are you doing now? Tsunade embroidered his eyebrows slightly. Advertisement. Master Tsunade, Master Jiraiya said in her heart that he and Master Xuan Che are in Cloud Shinobi Village. Namikaze Minato quickly scanned the contents of the letter and reported on Tsunade. The expressions of all the people present changed suddenly. What happened? The letter also contains Master Xuan Che's handwriting. It is for Master Tsunade, saying that there is no need to send troops to search Cloud Shinobi's latent army. Namikaze Minato stepped forward quickly and handed the letter to Tsunade's desk. Tsunade looked down. It's really that guy's handwriting. And only said that there was no need to send troops to search, not even the reasons. This familiar slacker style is absolutely correct. Backquote. Although Guy Xuan Che doesn't usually pay attention, he has done everything he has said without exception. Tsukumo Hitaki interjected in due course, since he said so, let's do it. But even so, the succession ceremony will still be delayed until the villagers get out of the psychological shadow of the Uchiha incident. Tsunade stood up suddenly, put his hands on the desk, and took a deep breath. Give some compensation to the families of the Uchiha deceased who died in this incident. Secondly, continue to search for Uchiha Obito's traces. Speaking of this, Tsunade gritted his teeth and even grinned his teeth. How much trouble this stinky boy has caused Konoha so far, I must let him repay it. Namikaze Minato and Kakashi bowed their heads and said nothing. Nuo Jiao's, but I was determined to find Obito back in my heart. Lung, Tien Jiguo. Located on the northwest border of the Fire Country, a small country without shinobu village. Headed by 3rd Raikage, more than 100 Cloud Shinobi village soldiers are hidden here. It is less than 8 hours before Namikaze Minato's takeover ceremony. We will launch an offensive until tomorrow morning. Uchiha will take the lead and we will attack from the outside. Compared with the 3rd Ninja World War, his face was a lot older, but the 3rd Raikage, who still had a strong body that no one else in the ninja world, commanded his subordinates. Master Raikage. This is the secretary of 3rd Raikage, as the only female ninja Izabu of Cloud Shinobi Village who can use the Tiasong technique, rushes in anxiously. Holding a scroll in his hand, Master Tudai sent an urgent letter with Tiasong technique. Chapter 183, Next, Where Shall I Go? One of the subjects of the Country of Fire, the border area of the country of Sichuan. Uchiha Itachi fled all the way and came here. He could no longer run and chose to sit on a desolate Gobi desert for temporary training. According to the original plan, he just needs to wait for the storm to pass. Then Shisui or Sasuke kills the sinner himself, it is enough. In this way, Uchiha's sacrifice was great, but at least it can continue the blood of this clan, so that the whole clan will not be wiped out like Senju. The next thing to live through is life in exile in various countries? Uchiha Itachi muttered to himself, holding up the water from a stream next to it that was not very clear. After taking a sip, he was ready to start again. No matter where I go, my life has entered the countdown at this moment. Since you don't have a specific destination, why not come and help me? For many years, it appeared in my mind like a dream monster, the voice of the person I wanted to catch in my dreams. Suddenly came from the rear left of Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi's expression suddenly changed, almost instinctively changing the 3-hook jade in his eyes to Mangekyo. Boom, it is the same style as the Xuan Che in the past, but the attack range is much worse than the black flame whizzing out. Hit the person behind him at a very fast speed, however, in the face of the eternal flame. The other party did not scream at all, and even kept his body motionless. And the flame of Amaterasu actually burned smaller and smaller. It dissipated completely within 5 seconds before and after. Amaterasu was missing. It was sucked into a different space. Is it my new ability when I first came up? It's a pity that this doesn't work for me. Obito continued to speak with Uchiha Madara's accent, calmly speaking. Uchiha Itachi wiped the blood and tears from his right eye, angrily drew out the sword, and rushed towards the opponent. Although it doesn't make sense to catch the opponent now. But facing this real sinner who pushed Uchiha into the abyss. Advertisement Uchiha Itachi even out of personal feelings. Also vowed to get rid of him quickly. Suddenly, Obito's body suddenly emerged with a sky-blue skeletal shield, which firmly blocked Itachi's ninja sword. Susanoo's shield. In the next instant, the skeleton's arm came out. Grab Itachi in the palm of his hand. Can you calm down now, Uchiha Itachi? Obito said coldly. The darts in Uchiha Itachi's eyes spun sharply, and his body began to burst out with orange flames, and an orange skeleton was also spawned. He broke free of Obito's Susao arm in one breath. Itachi's Susao shield also stretched out an arm and snapped it on Obito's Susao shield. With one blow, it smashed into cracks. I just awakened Mangekyo, can I use Susanoo? It's a genius. Seeing that Obito couldn't easily subdue Itachi, he quickly backed away about 20 meters with Kamui. After looking at the other party again, he teased and chuckled. But for you who have not transplanted Hashirama cells, can you withstand the pain caused by Susanoo? As predicted, after Obito said this, Itachi almost staggered to the ground. Too painful. It seemed that every cell in the body was roaring pain. Is this a side effect of Mangekyo? Well, I'm here to find you, not to fight with you, Uchiha Itachi. Obito put away Susanoo on his body surface and said. Come and talk about it. You betrayed your companions, betrayed your family, and betrayed the village. I don't think I have anything to discuss with you. Itachi did not release Susanoo, but Kaido coldly. There was a flash of anger in the eyes under Obito's mask, but he quickly suppressed it and said with a laugh. Don't you want to kill me? In that case, I also give you a chance to come to my organization to do things. You help me do things. I give you the opportunity to kill me. How? Itachi flickered his pupils slightly, suddenly remembered Xuan Che's previous comment on Obito. The behavior pattern of neuropathy is unpredictable. Knowing that he wants to kill him, dare to recruit himself? Sure enough, it was a neurosis. Advertisement. Thundercloud Canyon. Located in the southernmost part of Thunder Country, it is an important borderline separated from Unokuni. But now, I am afraid it will be renamed Fire Cloud Canyon. When 3rd Raikage led about 500 Cloud Shinobi troops back here. The canyon surrounded by white clouds all the year round has been completely covered by flames. The whole mountain exudes an unbearable high temperature. I don't know if I thought it was a volcano. Just 4 days ago, 3rd Raikage received an urgent letter from his deputy Tutai Yuchinsing technique. The letter claimed that Hitaki Xuan Che forcibly broke into Cloud Shinobi village and almost destroyed the entire village. In the letter, Tutai stated that Hitaki Xuan Che asked Cloud Shinobi to immediately withdraw all the Cloud Shinobi ninja army ambushing around the Fire Country. Otherwise, he will kill all the people in Cloud Shinobi village. After third Raikage learned of this, it can be said that the 7 souls left 6 souls. Hitaki Xuan Che. How could this be *********** D attack Cloud Shinobi at such a coincidence? But third Raikage didn't have time to think so much, so he could only quickly summon Killer B, Wooden Golem and the ambush soldiers who were ready to ambush. Retreat to the Land of Thunder as quickly as possible. Just yesterday, they heard that Uchiha Itachi slaughtered about 200 members of Uchiha, including his father Uchiha Fugaku. This is another heavy news. I had to ask Raikage and a group of people to link the actions of Uchiha Itachi and Hitaki Xuan Che. Master Raikage, in the Third Ninja War, Hitaki Xuan Che asked us for a huge sum of 10 billion taels of money from Cloud Shinobi Village. This time, I don't know how rudely he will ask, so let's go back like this. Will there be many tricks? Only a few years younger than Nohara Lin, Yurihong and the others, the perfect Jinchuriki, the 2 from Wooden Golem whispered to Third Raikage. What can you do? Third Raikage frowned and asked. He didn't know that Hitaki Xuan Che, this B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** 100 billion taels, but right now, he couldn't think of any other ideas. This man is out of fame, if he can kidnap his woman as a bargaining chip. When Wooden Golem said this, his face was a little awkward. Okay, it's despicable. But as the number of times that the struggle between nations makes the despicable tricks less. Chapter 184. His woman? Who are you talking about? Third Raikage didn't hesitate for a long time, before asking Wooden Golem. In the fight between Shinobu Village, taking hostages is just a basic exercise. Have done more despicable things, still care about this? What's more, it is not the first time. Cloud Shinobi Village is no richer than Iwagakure. If Hitaki Xuan Che opened his mouth again this time, asking for a price of 100 billion taels, it would be enough to sell Cloud Shinobi Village. Hitaki Xuan Che is indeed famous, but it really has a real relationship with him. Also Senju, Tsunade, Hokage wife, and Terumi Mei, the second bedroom Mizukage wife. I want to kidnap these two people. Well, it's impossible. I've inquired about the unclear relationship with him. In addition to Konoha's daughter, especially John and Yuhi Mahong's daughter, there is a medical ninja named Nahara Ellen who was born in civilians. He should be the most suitable candidate. Reported again by Wooden Golem, although he is Tsunadeheim's disciple, but the fighting strength is very ordinary, and it must be the easiest to succeed. If Xuan Che heard this, he would be speechless. Why is there always someone playing Yi Yuan Lin's idea? Finally escaped Uchiha Madara, the old yin ratio. As a result, Cloud Shinobi Village also stared at her. Can you sneak into Konoha and catch her? Third Raikage asked falsely. For Cloud Shinobi Village, even if you can't do it, do it. By Wooden Golem resolutely said. Cloud Shinobi used to send a few Jonin to take Uzumaki Kushina prisoner when Konoha was slack. The two of hers, Wooden Golem, also have this confidence. That, Uncle Raikage, there is a situation. Just as Third Raikage was about to give an order to let Wooden Golem act. Killer Bee suddenly shouted. Third Raikage, and 500 Cloud Shinobi ninja soldiers around, suddenly turned their heads and looked around. At this moment when everyone turned their heads, I saw the surrounding high cliffs. Countless crowded heads sprang out, estimated with a glance. At least thousands of people, wearing two forehead protectors, Konoha and Mist Shinobi. Ambush, in an instant, Third Raikage, Killer Bee, composed of Wooden Golem and 500 Cloud Shinobi ninjas. Advertisement. The same two words came up involuntarily in my mind. Thanks all the way back, Master Raikage, at this time, in the middle of the cliff, at the boundary between Konoha and Mist Shinobi. The ninjas of the two camps led out away, and Xuan Che walked out from the back with a smile, and looked at the crowd under Cloud Shinobi mockingly. Terumi Mei's daughter-in-law next to her took one of his arms. You guy, what do you mean? Third Raikage scolded like an angry ape. It's nothing, it's just that you Cloud Shinobi Village are too capable of making trouble. I really can't think of any reason for you to survive. Xuan Che smiled and said, but don't worry, I will not destroy Cloud Shinobi Village. On the contrary, I will recommend a more suitable Raikage. Speaking of this point, Xuan Che's meaning is already very clear. He has had enough of Cloud Shinobi Village who likes to do things. But it will not ruin the village, but he wants to kill the current Cloud Shinobi high-level decision-making team and replace him with a Raikage who he thinks is appropriate. What a joke. Third Raikage burst out hissing roar. The thunder and lightning broke out on the body, and the whole hair went upside down. The other ninjas were too late to react. Third Raikage had jumped up from the spot, and instantly rushed to Xuan Che at the 100-meter high cliff. However, the punch that broke out in the Third Raikage was about to hit Xuan Che's last moment. Xuan Che is back to the right, the same lightning flashed out. It was like a thunder gun hitting the belly of Third Raikage. Boom, immediately, hit him on the opposite cliff. The owner of the Third Raikage has the defense power that even the wind style and spiral shuriken are undamaged. Naturally, this move would hardly cause substantial harm to him. But when he jumped out of the stone wall, a deep consternation still appeared on Third Raikage's face. The speed just now, and the power of lightning style. Actually not inferior to myself, however, when he sees the other person's white hair, which is no different from Xuan Che. Third Raikage gritted his teeth. Konoha, White Fang. It will be called Cloud Shinobi White Fang from now on. Xuan Che from behind smiled and said, or, Fourth Raikage Hitaki Tsukumo. Hitaki shook his head and smiled bitterly, Advertisement. I didn't expect to avoid Hokage, but not Raikage. 2 days ago, the guy Xuan Che sent a ninja dog to inform him that he wanted to rush to the Land of Thunder as quickly as possible. And take over the position of Raikage. At that time he was frightened silly. Don't dream. You bastards, the third Raikage roared, exploding the energy of the lightning-style chakra armor to the limit. The peak strength of Cage level has reached a realm beyond the reach of more than % of the ninjas in the ninja world. Exploded again. Seeing this, Hitaki also drew out his saber, White Fang, turning it into a lightning-fast shadow that was smaller than third Raikage. Zero with it constantly colliding in midair. Do it, Xuan Che waved his hand and ordered, don't leave one. Oh. Thousands of pupas of ambush bee made up of Konoha and Mist Shinobi jumped down on both sides. With just this momentum, it scared the Cloud Shinobi below to collapse. Don't be scared. Make away. There was a loud shout from Wooden Golem. 2 flaming cattails stick out from behind. Wood-style 4-pillar prison technique. Suddenly, 4 wooden pillars sprang from the ground. It looked like a shing frame, interspersed with the 4 edges of Wooden Golem, and framed her tightly on the wooden pillars. This is, you Wooden Golem's face was shocked. But as soon as he said 2 words, his eyelids began to fight. Chakra in the body was taken away. Wood-style, like Sharingan, is the nemesis of the tail beast. I'm sorry, I'm in a bad mood now, and I'm a bit harder. Shisui jumped in front of Wooden Golem and said indifferently. You just have a good night's sleep. Just when Shisui turned around and wanted to deal with other enemies. There was a violent howl behind him, turned his head again and looked at it. A cat demon with 2 huge tails all over his body. He glared at himself with a grin and a grin. Huh, there's no way. Shisui let out a long breath. The black pupil in his eyes suddenly turned into Sharingan. Come on then, chapter 185. You take all the property you collected from Cloud Shinobi Village. After all, it takes a lot of money to clean up the mess left by Yagura, Blood Mist Village, right? That girl, oh no, that kid is your appointed heir to Mizukage. Not bad, at least better than the other one. In the valley below, Konoha, Mist Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi have begun to fight. On the other hand, Xuan Che and Terumi Mei are still standing on the cliff, watching the excitement. Xuan Che's gaze was mainly on the 12-year-old pseudo-mother who was wearing a pale pink kimono below. The white of the Snow family, he was secretly designated as the successor of 6th Mizukage by Terumi Mei. Possessed the same as the 3rd Mizukage, I have to say that it is much more feminine than Haruno Sakura. Xuan Che almost treated her like a woman. No wonder so many Hokage riders in the past life chose her as the heroine. However, Xuan Che couldn't believe those pictures of the same humanities. Do you fight with a bayonet? Hey, I miss you so much. Terumi Mei didn't hear what Xuan Che said. Hooked Xuan Che's neck for a while. Noticed another small figure in the battlefield. The 8-year-old Linglong's small body shuttled between the enemy forces. Although the moves are still immature, but the simple but direct moves couldn't help attracting Terumi Mei's attention. Isn't a Hinata? When did it become so powerful? This uncle is Master 8-Tails Gyuki. Yo, suddenly, the weird rap humming appeared on the battlefield with a volume that was about to squeeze the entire canyon. Following Matabi, 8-Tails Gyuki has also entered a complete tail animalization. If Sarutobi Hiruzen's late reign in the original work is the weakest period in Konoha's history, then Cloud Shinobi can be described as the strongest period in history. Just 2 perfect Jinchuriki, it is enough to disregard the vast majority of Shinobu. But that is also compared with Konoha in the original work. The current Konoha and the monsters sitting in the town compare the period when Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara joined forces. There is nothing worse than the past. Advertisement. It can only be said that 3rd Raikage is eager for revenge. Kicked on the steel plate. Boom, with a punch of 8 tails. In an instant, dozens of Konoha and Mist Shinobi ninjas died under this giant fist that looked like a meteorite. If it's not for the enemies mingled with his own people, in order to avoid accidental injury. Killer Bee had already fired Tailed Beast Bomb. Are you going to shoot? Terumi Mei didn't care about acting like a baby at this moment, and raised her head to ask Xuan Che. The appearance of 8 tails changed the situation of the war in a flash. The existence of the 9 big-tailed beasts ranked 2nd, indeed, should not be underestimated. It's not at the same level as 3 tails in Ninja Village. Xuan Che cast his eyes towards the south. I vaguely saw a bright light rushing over here, and smiled slightly. It seems that there is no need to let me go. Killer Bee, don't fall in love with the battle. First make a way for Master Raikage. At this time, fighting with Uchiha Shisui, Wooden Golem, who was also in a complete body-tailed beast-like form, reminded him loudly. Faced with Uchiha Shisui, who possesses Sharingan and Wood style, 2 tail beast nemesis abilities. Having entered the perfect form, he can't get the slightest advantage. Right now, Wooden Golem made a decisive decision, thinking that he couldn't love fighting. The most important thing at the moment is to quickly get rid of their boss. Damn Sharingan. Damn Wood style. Okay, I'll clear the way. 8 Tails turned his gaze slightly and directly faced the cliff where Xuan Che and Terumi Mei were standing. An ultra-high concentration of chakra spheres condensed in front of the mouth. Tailed Beast Bomb. However, the target of 8 Tails is not Xuan Che or Terumi Mei. It's the mountain wall at their feet. The exit of the canyon has been completely occupied by Konoha and Mist Shinobi. In that case, he directly blasted the mountain wall next to him, creating a new path. Xuan Che, be careful, Hitaki, who was struggling with third Raikage, called out loudly. Advertisement anyway, that is the second strongest tailed beast bomb. And in this gap of less than a second, third Raikage chased up with a hell stab, causing Hitaki to retreat again and again. The way is opened. In the next instant, the tailed beast bomb in the mouth of 8 Tails turned into a giant beam, blasting towards the mountain wall at the foot of Xuan Che and Terumi Mei Zero. Countless ninjas below at this moment, even not many ninjas were too scared to close their eyes because of excessive fear. Just as the tailed beast bomb was about to hit the last moment, a golden light flashed to the last gap between Xuan Che and tailed beast bomb. Then, Jin Guang disappeared with tailed beast bomb. Boom! It was almost at the same moment that it disappeared, another mountain a few miles away. The deafening sound lasted for more than a few seconds, and a huge mushroom cloud slowly rose to the sky. Not waiting for others to recover from their consternation, the golden light and shadow appeared on the battlefield again. A red pattern on a white background, embroidered with 5th Hokage, on the back of the figure, officially debuted. However, in the next second, Namikaze Minato only felt pain from the skin. The killer bee in the space gestured, and the next moment he controlled the 8 Tails body to take a deep breath, and in less than a second, it sprayed countless small spherical-tailed beast bomb. On the other side of the battlefield, Jiraiya was very pleased and looked straight at Namikaze Minato and the imperial robe he was wearing. Be careful. Bye. That guy will teleport irregularly to those kunai positions. Sorry, everyone, I'm late. The small-tailed beast bomb launch smashed all the karma thrown by Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato smiled silently, but in the process of falling, he quickly drew out a few new flying Thunder God kunai and threw them towards 8 Tails. Bang! Namikaze Minato bit her finger in midair, quickly forming a seal, summoning technique, and constantly rushed towards him. In the sealed space, 8 Tails reminded Killer Bee. Xuan Che from the rear kicked him directly into the battlefield inside the canyon, and said with a look of disgust. Minato. Namikaze Minato smiled brightly and shouted to the many Konoha shinobi below. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Don't pretend to be here, go down and get rid of that octopus. Burst-tailed beast bomb. As long as you don't let those kunai come near, okay. Chapter 186. Sage Art Massive Rasengan. Jiraiya, with 2 old toads Fukasaku and Shima standing on his shoulders, has entered Sage Mode. Although his Sage Mode is not as perfect as Naruto later. In this state, the face will show a certain frog. But in this form, he seems to have reached the peak intensity of Cage level. The huge Rasengan twisted the bodies of dozens of Cloud Shinobi ninjas in an instant, and plunged deep into the mountain wall behind. After solving all the enemies in front of him, Jiraiya turned his head and looked back. Boom! It just so happened that at this moment, the burning blue flames of the 2 Tail fell heavily to the ground. The exhausted chakra was no longer able to maintain a complete body-tailed animalized form, and its size quickly shrank, and the blue inflammation on his body was also exhausted in just a few seconds. Become an ordinary humanoid state, ha, ha. Shisui sat on the ground paralyzed, and Sharingan in his eyes returned to his usual black pupils, muttering to himself. It took a lot of effort. The second tail has been resolved. On the cliff, Terumi Mei, standing beside Xuan Che with one hand on hips, raised the hair before her eyebrows and asked Xuan Che, "Do you want to replace it with a new Jinchuriki?" Xuan Che pinched his chin with his right hand, thinking for a moment, then said, "It's very difficult to cultivate a perfect Jinchuriki. Lock her up first and see if you can persuade her to surrender. Transferring the tail beast to other people is naturally a trivial matter. But to be the perfect Jinchuriki is another matter. From the time of Sengoku to the present, the number of Jinchuriki who died of tail beasts in various villages has been countless. But the number of perfect Jinchuriki can be counted with just one hand. There may be the possibility of persuading Wooden Golem, but the other one, I am afraid it will be more troublesome." Xuan Che turned to look to the other side of the battlefield. 8 Tails Killer Bee that fought Namikaze Minato and Toad Fumata. He doesn't hate this second product. Unfortunately, Xuan Che and his position are opposites. Estimated his loyalty to third Raikage. I'm afraid it's not that you would rather die than devote yourself to yourself. There is no way. It seems that 8 Tails Jinchuriki has really changed. Xuan Che said a little pity. Speaking of Jinchuriki, we also have it in Ninja Village. Advertisement. Terumi Mei chuckled suddenly. You Ninja Village? 3 Tails? Xuan Che's eyebrows raised slightly. Already selected the new 3 Tails Jinchuriki to inherit Yagura? Just said this. On the right side of the battlefield, the body of Ghost Lantern Manmoon quickly rose with blood-red bubbles, and turned into 3 tail-like silhouettes behind. In an instant, the mood of the Ghost Lantern Full Moon became particularly unstable. However, the speed and strength of wielding Double Sword Flounder rose by more than one level. Even the Cloud Shinobi ninja who used shinobi swords in the whole village could hardly be regarded as such a slash. Is the Ghost Lamp Full Moon? Xuan Che said inwardly. It's not clear how the kid died in the original book. At present, the Tail Beast Code is already the limit of his controllable power. Until now, the 500 Cloud Shinobi ninja army led by 3rd Raikage, Wooden Golem and Killer Bee have been almost completely wiped out. Only 3rd Raikage and Killer Bee are still struggling. This is a war. Don't worry about the boring rules of 1-to-1, hurry up and solve the rest. The sound of Xuan Che passed through the surrounding rock walls, reverberated throughout the canyon. I am waiting for you at Cloud Shinobi Village. After saying these words, Xuan Che called his hand and turned back to Cloud Shinobi Village. After taking a rest, Shisui stood up again and fixed his gaze on Eight Tails. Jiraiya hesitated for a few seconds, and then deliberately looked towards Third Raikage, whose speed was like lightning. Master Shenzuo, Master Shima, can that illusion hit Raikage? Jiraiya asked the two toads on his shoulders. It's fast, but there should be a chance. Deeply made a toad and observed Kaido for a few seconds. Okay, let's go. Jiraiya nodded and flew out suddenly. One after another with Hitaki Tsukumo, he formed a tendency to outflank Third Raikage. Advertisement. Konoha 56 years. This year is a year that can be remembered in the annals of the ninja world. Compared with those big things that happened later. Uchiha Itachi will slaughter nearly 200 elite Uchiha ninjas, including his father Uchiha Fugaku. It feels nothing. Hitaki Xuan Che joined forces with Mist Shinobi's 5th Mizukage Terumi Mei, assembled thousands of Konoha and Mist Shinobi troops, and Thundercloud Valley, ambushed 500 Cloud Shinobi troops headed by Third Raikage. The total duration of the front and back battles was only about 6 hours. In the end, Konoha Mist Shinobi's combined army won a big victory. 2 perfect Jinchuriki, 2 Tails by Wooden Golem, 8 Tails Killer Bee were captured. Even with the cage-level peak strength of Third Raikage, Hitaki Tsukumo and Jiraiya joined forces who were not inferior to him. After struggling for more than 5 hours, he finally died of exhaustion. Cloud Shinobi Village suffered this dramatic change. Everyone in the ninja world knows that this is about to change. Sure enough, less than a week, news came from the Northern Thunder Country. The eldest brother of Hitaki Xuan Che, White Fang, Hitaki Tsukumo assumed the position of 4th Raikage. Obviously, Hitaki is going to use this method to put Cloud Shinobi Village Master in his own hands. The properties of Cloud Shinobi Village were obtained by Kirigakure. You guys. You actually killed Lord Raikage, don't think I will succumb to you, yo. In the Cloud Shinobi Village Raikage building, Killer Bee, who was tied up by the Big 5 flowers, did not forget to sing rap even when he was extremely angry. At this time, on the office seat, Hitaki had already put on Raikage's shadow hat. I still admire you, Killer Bee from 8 Tails. Xuan Che patted Killer Bee on the shoulder and said without a smile. Do you want to die? Humph, Killer Bee hummed heavily. Be softer than your lord, Master Raikage is dead, we can't lose you anymore. Next to him, Amoy and Karui, who were the disciples of Killer Bee, cried out in despair. Chapter 187. Bye, come over and get ready. See the attitude of Killer Bee, who would rather die than surrender. Xuan Che didn't say any more, he beckoned and motioned to the pseudo-mother Bai to come over. I have to say that this kid's casual clothes look more like women. How about pairing him with Naruto? Just having such thoughts in his heart, Xuan Che shook his head severely. No, Naruto is a perfect match for Sasuke. How can you ruin a marriage? Guilt. Minato, kill Killer Bee and prepare to perform Jinchuriki's transfer ceremony. Xuan Che ordered Namikaze Minato again. Obviously, he wanted to transfer the 8 Tails in Killer Bee to Shiro. Namikaze Minato hesitated for 2 seconds, but still walked over while taking out a flying thunder god from the ninja bag at his waist. My lord, Cloud Shinobi needs you, Karui exclaimed. Please think about it for the village. The brows on Killer Bee's sunglasses twitched hard. Seeing Namikaze Minato getting closer and closer, she finally couldn't help but ask. Hey, you guy, as long as I listen to your orders, you won't attack other people in Cloud Shinobi, right? Xuan Che raised his hand to signal Namikaze Minato to suspend his hand movement and said calmly. Don't think of me as a murderer. After all, it's the current situation. It's not because you Cloud Shinobi are too much. Killer Bee's eyebrows twitched fiercely, but he was speechless. Cultivating a perfect Jinchuriki is very troublesome. If you are obedient, I have saved a lot of things. It can be said to be a win-win situation. Xuan Che Tan Shou Dao. Enough said today, tell me your answer. After a few minutes of silence, Killer Bee finally spoke again and gestured. I know, I promised you, but you don't break your promise, Bakayalu, Kloalu. This second product will be handed over to you in the future, brother, although I feel a little nervous, but the character can be considered to be able to say it, at least not like the previous Konoha elders. Xuan Che raised his thumb and pointed to Killer Bee. With this calculation, the only people left in the 5 ninja villages are Iwagakure without you, Mr. Xuan Che. Will the next goal be there, right? Shisui suddenly thought of a question and couldn't help but ask. Advertisement. When he mentioned this, all the people present suddenly realized. Among the 5 great ninja villages, the power of Xuan Che has penetrated 4 of them. Although Konoha's Tsunade abdicated, Namikaze Minato, who took over as 5th Hokage, still did not dare to disobey Xuan Che. Not to mention Mizukage Terumi Mei of Mist Shinobi, the relationship with Xuan Che is well known in the ninja world. And now, Hitaki Tsukumo also serves as 4th Raikage. Although San Shinobi is unreliable, and the 2nd to 5 boy attribute is very strong. But at least it still maintains its name as an apparent ally. In this way, Iwagakure is the only one in the 5 ninja villages that has not yet established a specific connection with Konoha. When did you come up with the idea that I wanted to unify the ninja world? I have no interest in these little things. Xuan Che rolled his eyes and said, "If you want to unify the ninja world, do it yourself. I will only do things that interest me." After speaking, Xuan Che took the lead to leave Hokage's office. Tsunade has officially retired from Hokage's position. Next, he just wanted to go back and get a good night's sleep. Shisui stared at the back of Xuan Che's departure, sighing inwardly. If that doesn't happen to our family, everything will be perfect, Itachi. In less than a month, Uchiha Itachi killed 200 elite Uchiha ninjas including his father. Hitaki Xuan Che led Konoha Mist Shinobi's coalition forces to capture Cloud Shinobi Village. Tsukumo Hitaki takes over as 4th Raikage, 4th Hokage Tsunade retires and Namikaze Minato takes over the position of 5th Hokage. Uchiha Shisui takes over as the chief of the Uchiha clan. One by one, big news continued to cause uproar on this lake called Ninja World. With so many big news, other countries are a little numb to listen to it. But Sand Shinobi, the apparent ally, will not mention it. Konoha, Cloud Shinobi, and Mist Shinobi are now twisted into the same chain. Between these 3 villages, it is impossible for a war to break out in a short time. And the man holding this chain is Hitaki Xuan Che. Advertisement: would he take advantage of this opportunity to control the 3 Shinobu villages? Start a war against the remaining 2 Shinobu villages? No one knows. But at least for sure, in a short period of time, Luosha and Onoki will not be well. As for Naruto, who has always been heartless, he didn't care at all about these big news that changed the color of Quan Ninja World. Only the fact that his father became Hokage excited him for a few days. But that's it. After all, he grew up in Kushina's Iron Fist education, although he is not a second-generation official like Bo Benway. It is not because his father is Hokage to show off in the village all day long. But the strangeness of rival Uchiha Sasuke attracted Naruto's attention. I'll go back and discuss with the people. Later, it was learned from the nearby population that it was the Uchiha clan that had caused the disaster. Although it feels essentially, it doesn't seem to be much different. Just listen to the other party. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Shisui's expression changed slightly, although that guy always likes to put on a dirty face on weekdays. Within a few seconds, Shisui turned around and ran towards the clan land. Since it's hard to stay in Konoha, it's better to change to another place and start again. Moreover, my brother-in-law's attack on Cloud Shinobi last time caused the village to lose nearly half of its combat effectiveness. After this incident, the criticism of Uchiha, no Jiao Jiao, in the village was much smaller. But now, the temperament of the whole person has become completely different. After listening to Nawaki's advice, Uchiha Shisui hesitated, but he was obviously moved. The previous resentment gradually turned into sympathy. Backquote: how about relocating to Cloud Shinobi Village? In the face of Uchiha's situation, the province's proposal to succeed Namikaze Minato as the head of the intelligence department was convinced. If Uchiha can join Cloud Shinobi, it can be said to be a charcoal in the snow, and Mr. Shumo should also be very welcome. And just as Shisui and Itachi planned. Chapter 188. At the end of Konoha's 56th year, under the decision of the new patriarch Uchiha Shisui, the Uchiha family decided to relocate collectively to Cloud Shinobi Village. Have you reached this point in the end? No, this may be a good choice for Uchiha. The patriarch of the ninja clan, similar to Naruto, did not show much stunned expression after learning about this incident. On the contrary, there is a feeling that this kind of thing will happen sooner or later. After the last war, Cloud Shinobi's total force was only half of what it used to be. Now that Uchiha has moved into Cloud Shinobi, it might be a good thing. At the very least, there is no need to be like this anymore, and Konoha has been criticized. After hearing Shisui's proposal, almost no other Uchiha people expressed their opposition. After all the radicals died. The rest are either doves whose edges have been smoothed out by suffering. Either they are women, girls and children who are incompetent. Move to Cloud Shinobi Village. At night, when Sasuke returned home, he learned about it from Uchiha Makoto, who is now the mother of the only Ishin spirit. His eyes widened in shock. Uchiha Makoto brought the dinner to Sasuke, grinning extremely reluctantly. What does Sasuke think? Sasuke hesitated for 2 seconds, and suddenly a silly smiling face of yellow hair appeared in his mind. Shaking his head violently, after driving the nasty smile out of his mind, Uchiha Sasuke Kaido. I'll go wherever mom is going. Uchiha Makoto smiled from the heart and touched Sasuke's head and said. Silly boy, don't care about mom, you can make your own decision. No, mom's thoughts are the most important thing. Sasuke patted Yu Shang's mouth, and suddenly a thick hatred flashed in his eyes. I will protect my mother, and I will kill that guy to avenge my father. When Sasuke mentioned it, Uchiha Makoto's face turned pale. She always felt that this matter was not that simple. According to her knowledge of her eldest son Uchiha Itachi, that child would not do such a frenzied thing for strength. A week later, Konoha was in front of the gate. Advertisement: hundreds of relocation army consisting of genin of Uchiha, women, and children. Under the care of many ninjas who are responsible for escorting and coming from Cloud Shinobi to Konoha. Ready to set off to Cloud Shinobi Village. In the original book, in addition to rebellion, Uchiha actually left Konoha. This path of self-reliance is chosen. However, as long as you think about it a little bit, you will know that this path is absolutely unworkable. Not to mention whether the 4 Lao Yinbi are willing to let them go. It's just Sharingan, the world's famous blood succession boundary. As soon as Uchiha's front foot came out of Konoha, other shinobu villages on the back foot came to encircle and suppress. Believe it or not. What happened to the Uzumaki clan? And now, this condition has been met. Uchiha wants to leave, but Cloud Shinobi village, which is controlled by Xuan Che, is short of people. Isn't this just right? Are everyone here? The patriarch Uchiha Shisui stood at the forefront of the line, looked at the Uchiha family, which is basically composed of women, girls and children, and took a deep breath. Then come out. Wait a moment, it is not waiting for him to say the last, F.A. word. A child's shout from the village behind him instantly attracted Sasuke's attention. The familiar yellow-haired figure quickly ran towards this side. Sasuke's surprised eyes almost popped out. You. Sasuke UB ******** D. You are leaving Konoha silently. Naruto rushed to Sasuke out of breath, reaching out and pointing at him. Idiot you, the whole village knows about this, right? Although he knew that this guy was a fool at the moment, he didn't expect to be so stupid. I don't care, in short, you want to escape before you decide the outcome with me, I will never allow this. Naruto Sabo said. Boom, a blow burst the chestnut on top of Naruto's head, and a big bag of the same style as Nohara Shinosuke rose instantly. Suddenly, Kushina raised her son's back collar and smiled strongly. Oh I'm sorry, this kid is getting nervous again. Smelly boy, get me back, I'm making trouble again. Advertisement. Kushina held Naruto in her hand as if twisting a rabbit and cursed. Mom, I'm talking about business. Faced with Kushina in the form of Shinchili, Naruto retorted with unexpected boldness. However, when Kushina raised his fist for the second time, Naruto instantly lost the fire. Sasuke's face, who saw all this in his eyes, flashed a deep entanglement. This idiot. And this change in Sasuke's expression was seen by his mother Uchiha Mikoto next to him. After a few seconds of contemplation, Uchiha Mikoto turned to Shisui and asked. Shisui. Patriarch, that. Ms. Mikoto, just call me Shisui as before. Uchiha Shisui smiled lightly. Feel sorry. Uchiha Mikoto put his hands on the shoulders of the younger son and said. I just thought about it, and I think Sasuke and I should stay in Konoha. When Sasuke heard the words, he turned his head in astonishment and looked at his mother incredulously. Although it was hidden well, the flash of joy on his face was discovered by Uchiha Mikoto. Shisui also looked stagnant, but immediately nodded and said. No problem. Who else wants to stay in Konoha? It's still too late. Shisui asked the other people again, but now, no tribe still has nostalgia for this sad place. Many of them are already looking forward to a new life in Cloud Shinobi. Then, let's go. Seeing this, Shisui stopped the ink and waved for everyone to leave. Ms. Mikoto and Sasuke, there will be a period later. Before leaving, Shisui said to the two at last, you will be a good patriarch, Shisui. Uchiha Mikoto smiled softly. Goodbye, brother Shisui, I will practice hard in the future, and I must kill that man. Sasuke bowed his head to say goodbye first, and then said in a murderous tone. Shisui's eyes flashed for a moment, but in the end he didn't say anything and turned and left. Chapter 189 Ninja World has entered the era of peace. This is the consensus reached by many people after 56 years of Konoha. 3 of the 5 ninja villages are Konoha, Cloud Shinobi, and Mist Shinobi. It has been confirmed that an indestructible connection has been concluded, and Hitaki Xuan Che acts as a restraint for the existence of this chain. As long as he doesn't make troubles, the shinobi world is hard to have a war. The remaining 2 big ninja villages. Since the end of the Sengoku era, Sanagakure, the youngest member who has been at the bottom of the list in terms of overall strength, is not taken care of by them at all. And Iwagakure 1 village, under the strong union of 3 strong villages. Can't make any storm. Many conspirators in Shinobu village speculate. As long as Hitaki Xuan Che has no intention of starting a war, that ninja world can last at least 20 years of terrible until his death. But San Shinobi's life was not easy. The first to bear the brunt is 4th Keisuke Roshi Ishin believes that his second son, the current Shuhei Jinchuriki Gaara, is a failure. Genin has been dispatched several times to assassinate Gaara. Secondly, it is accompanied by the increasing strength of the Nation of Fire. The main clients of high-level tasks such as wealthy businessmen and nobles in various countries are making entrusted selections. We'll choose Konoha. This has led to a sharp decline in the financial strength of Sanagakure and even the entire Wind Nation. In Konoha's 58th year, the Wind Country daimyo announced disarmament. That is, by reducing the number of ninjas, in order to achieve the purpose of saving consumer expenditures. This incident was met with fierce opposition from a group of high-level officials headed by Luo Sha. But in the end, the arm couldn't twist the thigh, and the decision to disarmament was issued. Pain and Uchiha Obito, Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, Kakuzu and Hidan, Sasori of Akasago were originally partnered with me, but after I quit, the organization should absorb the newcomer as his new partner. As for the guy, Double One, always acting alone. The country of Rain Shinobi Village, advertisement. Angel, Conan is now the leader. On the surface, it is still a closed village closed to the country. But only a few people know that Angel, Conan and Konoha have an extremely secret connection. At this moment, in the top room of the Iron Tower that has been repaired and restored. It should have belonged to the 3 seats in the highest meeting room of Obito, Tiandao Pain, and Conan. They are doing Xuan Che, Orochimaru and Konan. And Orochimaru is reporting to the two about what he finally learned before he defected to Akatsuki. That's right, Orochimaru eventually rebelled against Akatsuki. It was not defeated by Itachi like the original, it's because he already knew from Uchiha Itachi that the Madara, who was pretending to be a ghost and wearing a mask all day, was actually the silly Uchiha Obito back then. Originally, one of the reasons why it was important for him to stay in Akatsuki was to study Uchiha Madara. Now I learned that the other party was actually the kid Obito. Suddenly he was disappointed, and he didn't bother to entangle with this kid. Obito obviously will not let people who know his true identity continue to stay in the organization, and sooner or later he will kill Orochimaru. Due to the dual reasons, Orochimaru chose not to hesitate. Akatsuki's ultimate goal is to capture 9-tailed beasts, so the original plan is to have 10 official members. Konan squeezed his fan and said, "The number is almost the same, it's time to compare." When he heard the word, pen, from Orochimaru, Konan sighed inwardly. Nagato and Uchiha Obito work together. In Konan's view, it is tantamount to seeking a tiger's skin. I was afraid that Nagato would fall into the hands of that man. After all, Akatsuki has only 10 S-rank rebels. It is still far from competing with the 5 great ninja villages. Their only way is to engage in lightning operations when the 5 ninja village can't pay attention, and in the shortest possible time, all the 9-tailed beasts can be stored in their palms. Xuan Che put his hands together and rested on his knees. It should be a while. Don't you know where Akatsuki's headquarters is now? Zero fine flowers. Konan frowned and asked, looking at Orochimaru. Advertisement. No one knows this. Orochimaru smiled strangely. Since Kirigakure was picked up by you, I didn't even see Obito and Pen's deity. The communication was completely using the magic lantern technique. That guy was very cautious. Oh, I think there is one thing I can use, Xuan Che-kun. Orochimaru suddenly thought of something and smiled at Xuan Che. Are you planning to get married again? It's the little girl from Lin and Shiri's family, right? As soon as he said this, Konan, who was next to Xuan Che's left hand, stared at him with a look of trash. Juju lightly opened, and could vaguely read the words, "Scumman," from the slightly moving look. The word, of you is superfluous, and I don't plan to do it with great fanfare, just get a certificate. Orochimaru laughed strangely, but I'm sorry, I'm going to get a certificate. I'm tired of having a wedding. Lousy's housework, what are you girl doing so much? It's better to have a wedding, maybe you can draw him out and kill him. Scumbag. The scum should also be clear. If you can think of such a vulgar method, should it be you? In other words, it's a simple haircut. Xuan Che tugged his horns slightly, resting his cheek with one hand. Regarding this matter, Xuan Che was also quite speechless. Xuan Che gave her a blank look. For this matter, Tsunade did not know how many splashes he sprinkled at home. The purpose of peace has been achieved, but the kid Obito has no intention of stopping the plan. After all, he is not for peace at all, but just wants to escape into the world of infinite Tsukuyomi. But those girls have been with themselves for a long time, so it's hard to justify not giving them a name. You can make good use of this, right? Lin, that little girl. I remember Obito's former dream lover, right? Xuan Che was amused and thought. This time, Konan didn't twitch, but cursed directly. Chapter 190. The idea that Orochimaru thought seemed rather bad at first. But after careful thinking, consider again that Obito, who looks old and spicy, still retains a very strong character of dog licking. If the original Nakano Hararen survives, most chances are still with Kakashi. It should not be Blacken. It's really because Uchiha Madara's old yin is too slippery than the medicine. Xuan Che, the Traverser, was caught off guard. It's really possible to be recruited. After all, although that kid has done things inappropriately. But the heart is extremely fragile. From the 4th Ninja War in the original book, his mask was broken. After the true face was announced to the world, the frequent mistakes in combat can be seen. The mask on his face seemed to cover his identity as Uchiha Madara. But in fact, 1977 is concealing the emptiness of the heart. But in the end, Xuan Che still did not choose to adopt Orochimaru's bad idea. Although he was a little numb. But for Nohara, Lin and Yurihome, this is a particularly sacred day. Don't add other factors. In the end, Xuan Che's wedding was not as vigorous as it was with Tsunade and Terumi made 2 years ago. Just taking the 2 women to get a certificate, it was over. On the way home, Shi Rihong held the small red book above her head with both hands, making a nymphally laugh. Although Yi Yuan Lin is not so exaggerated, she still holds the marriage certificate as a treasure in her arms. There was a smile from the heart on his face. Xuan Che shrugged and smiled. Guarding behind them, return home. Should you tell Obito? The roof of the Konoha Civil Affairs Bureau a few miles away. A bundle of pitcher plants emerged. White Zetsu moved his eyes slightly and asked Black Zetsu, who was the other half of his body. Black Zetsu pondered for a moment. Kaido. Forget it, don't irritate him, and prepare for the tail beast capture plan quietly for now. White Zetsu curled his lips and murmured. It's a pity, I wanted to see what that guy's expression would look like when he heard this. But considering the uncertain factors of that neurosis, let's forget it, don't miss major events. Advertisement. Smelly boy. How many times have I taught you my mother? Why don't you know you? Deliberately, isn't it? Haha. Konoha 60 years. When Uzumaki Kushina saw his son's failed transcript again, he snarled and almost broke the glass window in the house. Naruto shrank behind Namikaze Minato in fright, with a grieved expression on his face. Both, it's all because of Mr. Iruka's clone technique, which I'm least good at. Kushina, calm down, Naruto is still young. Namikaze Minato, as always, played the role of peacemaker, standing in front of Naruto and acting as a physical shield, smiling bitterly for his stupid son. Small? Is he still young? My old lady is already on the battlefield at his age? Kushina started copying the feather duster as she said. Today, she must swell the skin of this stinky boy with the red chili pepper. Seeing this, Naruto hurriedly jumped out of the window and ran away. I don't know how many times I have repeated the action of being familiar with the road. Brother, come back to me. Kushina's roar came from behind. Naruto, who slipped into the street, secretly breathed a sigh of relief and muttered. Just because of one failure, it made such a big fire. Shikamaru was right. Mom is the most terrifying creature in the world. Super idiot, next week is the graduation exam, do you want to repeat the grade? Suddenly hearing this, Naruto turned his head angrily. There is only one person who would call him that. Sure enough, when he turned his head to look around. That nasty-faced Sasuke, annoying, want to fight, you fellow? Naruto rolled up his sleeves and cursed, humph. Sasuke hummed his head, and the answer was self-evident. Soon, two 12-year-old kids can be seen fighting together on the street like street gangsters. Such images are commonplace to many Konoha people. Under the guidance of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, the current Naruto is really not a crane tail. However, because of the interference of Nine Tails chakra, he easily confuses ordinary chakra and Nine Tails chakra when condensing chakra. As a result, ninjutsu cannot be performed normally. The results have been hovering in the middle and lower. Want to pass the graduation examination, it is really a bit unsettled. And Sasuke is no different from the original, and has always maintained a top score of 0. But this number 1 position is often taken by another person. Advertisement Hyuga Hinata. A week later, Naruto finally passed the low score. I barely got the forehead protector and passed Genin's initial test. Next, just wait for grouping into classes. Master Xuan Che, is there anyone you care about among the graduates this time? I will actually invite you in person. In Hokage's office, Namikaze Minato, 5th Hokage, said a little flattered. Xuan Che suddenly approached him and said that he wanted to see how this year's graduates are divided into classes. Namikaze Minato was taken aback at the time. This master is also interested in such little things. Just treat me like I'm okay. Xuan Che smiled rather than smiled. Namikaze Minato doesn't know the kind of stealing technique like Sarutobi Hiruzen's crystal ball. But every classroom is equipped with a surveillance camera, which is enough to replace it. Why are you guys here? At this time, through the monitoring screen, Xuan Che, Namikaze Minato and others in the office. Sasuke has been seen entering the classroom and greeted Naruto with a smirk. Huh, didn't you see what's on my head? Naruto raised his thumb and pointed triumphantly at the forehead protector on his forehead. Oh, I heard that in order to balance the strength of each division, the previous graduates often assigned the highest and lowest grades together. I really don't want to be in the same class with you. Sasuke tilted his head to the other side and squinted hard. What are you talking about? You mean your grades are good, but my grades are poor. Naruto screwed Sasuke's collar angrily. I'm telling the truth. Sasuke also grunted and twisted Naruto's collar with his backhand. Ah, Namikaze Minato laughed hard. Should I bring this class in the future? Kakashi in the office looked bitter. Ah, Sasuke-kun. At this moment, Haruno Sakura, who broke into the classroom, saw Sasuke's back and rushed towards him with an idiotic expression on his face. The next second, I stumbled on the steps under my feet and hit his head on Sasuke's back. Sasuke staggers forward, this time it's the other way around. Then, Bo, Chapter 191, ha 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 ha, Xuan Che in Hokage's office burst into laughter. Sure enough, it turned out to be like this. Namikaze Minato, Kakashi and others looked embarrassed. On the surveillance screen, Naruto Sasuke, who seemed to be unable to defy the will of the world, staged a world-famous painting again. Namikaze Minato only felt a tingling scalp. See the world-famous paintings on the monitor screen. Suddenly, he thought about whether he should revise Konoha's constitution. For example, men and men can intermarry and so on. What happened next was just as expected. Iruka's arrival quieted the noisy classroom. Begin to announce the class combination of 30 graduates of this year. But in the final analysis, only 3 groups are eligible. All that is left is a gang of dragons that will die anytime. Class 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. When Iruka called out the names of these 3 people. Before Haruno Sakura became a nympho, Naruto, who had just lost her first kiss, jumped up from the seat and yelled at Sasuke. Ms. Iruka, I'm such an excellent 09, why should I be in the same group as this guy? Iruka raised an eyebrow, and a few seconds later gave the son of Hokage a face. It is to balance the strength of each group. Because you were a crane tail. Sasuke, who was behind Haruno Sakura, relentlessly made up the knife. What did you say? The 2 men are going to fight again. Unlike the original book, Naruto, with the aura of son of Hokage, even though Haruno Sakura, a civilian girl, still dislikes him. But I would never dare to be treated so rough as the original. This is the power of capital. This grouping is really interesting, Hokage's son and the Uchiha clan, and finally add a little girl of civilian origin and no special characteristics. Xuan Che squinted at Namikaze Minato. Why add a civilian background? Namikaze Minato scratched his nose. He could never say that it was because he wanted to stimulate two boys, so he deliberately arranged for a girl to go in. Of course, Namikaze Minato dare not say that he actually intended to send Hinata in at the beginning. Advertisement, but thinking about it again, Hinata is also the chief student, and in the same class as Sasuke. The combat effectiveness of the 7th class is too inflated. Think about the relationship between Hinata and Xuan Che. After struggling for a long time, Namikaze Minato chose the same grouping mode as the original book. Class 7. Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. The 8th class, Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, Inuzuka Tooth. Class 10. Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji. After announcing the results of the placement, Uruka left the sentence, waiting for your instructor in the classroom, and left. And with the arrival of Shiranui Genma, and the same Konoha as the Foot Thunder, Jonin arrived. One group after another group of dragon sets took the lead to leave. About 20 minutes later, everyone in class 10, please gather together. The 8th class, come with me. Two shadows walked into the room almost at the same time. It is Nohara Lin and Yurihong, Sister Hong, Sister Lin. Hinata's pretty face was slightly surprised, because the two people in front of them are both non-relatives who grew up holding themselves in their arms, just like the eldest sister. I will be your guide from now on, Jonin, Hinata. Yurihong smiled and rubbed Hinata's hair. Please advise. Hinata nodded with a blushing face. Hello everyone, I am Lin Nohara, who will be responsible for your future ninja actions. Compared with the faintly heroic tone in Shirihong's tone, Nohara Lin is more like a confidant big sister. Good gentle sister, I feel that life will be better in the future. Ben is desperate because he is assigned to the same class with a grumbling ghost and a big fat pig. Under Nohara Lin's smile, she was instantly healed. What? It's a female ninja, Inazukaya murmured in a low voice. Shirihong raised her eyebrows slightly, but didn't say anything. Anyone who has talent can become a talent no matter what, no one can teach it. Those who are not able to change the education are mediocre. Xuan Che walked slowly into the classroom and yawned. If you want to be a ninja, you better remember this. Hitaki Xuan Che, advertisement. The 8 Shaokangs present except Hinata were suddenly surprised. Aburame Shino said inwardly, the strongest man in the ninja world. Uchiha Sasuke swallowed secretly and thought, it is said that he once saved brother Shisui. Uncle Xuan Che said you are our guide Jonin, Naruto exclaimed ecstatically. Naruto is no stranger to Xuan Che, who sometimes helps herself and her mother suppress Nine-Tails runaways. Although he is not very clear about the dimension of Xuan Che's strength. But his father once said that the strength of this man is an existence that he can hardly match in his life. This is enough to leave room for Naruto's imagination. Sasuke couldn't help but shine upon hearing Naruto's question. If this man came to teach himself, you must be able to avenge that person, Uchiha Itachi, right? Stop it, I don't want to do such boring things freely, and I'm still Genin. Xuan Che raised his hand and said with a look of interest. My nephew will come to teach you about 50 to 50, but he has a problem, that is, every time he gathers, he must be at least 3 hours later than the agreed time. Having said this, Xuan Che looked up at the clock on the wall and said. You guys are mentally prepared. Hearing Xuan Che's words, many people's eyes twitched. Next, Genin, isn't it? And why do you feel a bit proud of your tone when you say this? Immediately, Xuan Che turned around and left first. Nohara Lin and Yurihong also led their respective 8th and 10th classes to leave. Only the 7th class was left stupidly stunned. 3 hours? Is there a mistake? And this was almost the same time period when Konoha 12 Shaokang was officially born. Happened to Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi in the 2 Shinobi villages of the Konoha League. They also elected their Shaokang this year. Cloud Shinobi, Omoi, Karui, Azi. Mist Shinobi, Ghost Light Shuei, Shojiro, White. Both groups are preparing to take the Chunin exam that will be held in Konoha in a few months. Chapter 192. Although Konoha now has an alliance with Sand Shinobi, Cloud Shinobi, and Mist Shinobi. In fact, they are all alliances with each other, only Konoha, Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi. Sand Shinobi, Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi are not allies. With Konoha, Cloud Shinobi, and Mist Shinobi, the 3 villages have formed the Iron Triangle Alliance 4 years ago. The Chunin exams over the years, and the Chunin exams of the 3 ninja villages, were taken in turns among the 3 villages. Konoha 57 years, Konoha's 58th year, Mist Shinobi. Konoha's 59 years, Cloud Shinobi, and this year Konoha's 60th year, it is Konoha's turn again. And because Sand Shinobi has an alliance with Konoha. Therefore, Genin of Sand Shinobi will also participate. It has been more than a few months since 9 Shaokang officially graduated to become Konoha's official Genin. They also learned about the Chunin exam from their respective instructors, Jonin. Want to participate? Above Konoha's overpass, Kakashi stuck Kabuto with one hand and asked the 7th class in front of him. Does that still need to be said? Naruto raised his arms in excitement and said with joy. This is my first step to become Hokage. Sasuke couldn't hide the excitement in his eyes and said secretly. I'm also fed up with D-level missions that don't have the slightest benefit every day. After becoming Chunin, I should be able to improve faster. As for the little Sakura, she was exactly what Sasuke wanted to do, she followed. Okay, so all members have passed unanimously. Kakashi smiled gratifiedly, handed the list to the three of them, and after leaving a sentence, I look forward to your performance, he disappeared and left. Similar things happened in the 8th class led by Yurihong and the 10th class led by Nohara Lin. When I decided to take the Chunin exam, the 7th class returned to each house together while discussing how to strengthen my strength. On the way back, I suddenly heard quarrels coming from ahead. I just told the truth. You Cloud Shinobi village lost our Mist Shinobi in the previous war, isn't it? A teenager with pure white shoulder-length hair and a similar age to Naruto and the others, with his hands behind his back, poked his mouth at a pair of men and women with dark skin like coals and annoyed faces on the opposite side. However, what really attracted the attention of Class 7 was the machete on the boy's back. It's not that they performed a C-level task 2 months ago, but in fact the difficulty is enough to be B-level or even A-level. Advertisement after encountering Mist Shinobi rebelling against Shinobi, will Momoji no longer beheaded with a big sword? UB***************, D, what are you talking about? The girl with red hair and black skin on the opposite side furiously twisted the collar of the white-haired boy. The forehead protector of the people on both sides, is Kirigakure in Cloud Shinobi village. Little Sakura exclaimed. It feels like it's going to be a fight, it seems to be fun. Naruto rubbed his hands, gloating. Although I haven't experienced the tragic childhood in the original book, the habit of pranks is perfectly preserved. Just when the two sides are about to fight, a strong chill surged in the hearts of both parties. Even the 7th class, standing more than 10 meters away, shuddered subconsciously. Both sides looked down. They found that a layer of ice had frozen their feet and fixed them firmly in place. Stop, Shuei, you would embarrass our village like this. A shadow emerged from nowhere, pulling the two sides apart. And said to the red-haired and black-skinned girl. Sorry, I apologize on behalf of my companion. Tisk, bye, the other party was the first to speak insultingly. Shui Yu said with a curled mouth. Bing, is that the blood succession boundary? Sasuke frowned and looked at the melting ice on the ground. And the body flicker technique that appeared just now. Thinking of this, Sasuke secretly clenched his fist. So fast, faster than myself. Damn it, my own growth rate is really too slow. What a pretty girl. Seeing the beautiful figure in the pink kimono, Naruto couldn't help but feel pitiful. Hearing Naruto's admiration not far away, Bai smiled slightly. Kaido. Thank you for the compliment, but I am a man. Naruto was instantly struck by lightning and shouted in disbelief. How is it possible? There is actually a more beautiful man than little Sakura. Little Sakura wanted to punch this guy angrily on the spot, but then thought about who his father was. In the end, he shrugged and put his fists away. Advertisement. Is that 5th Hokage's son? Shuei looked at the obvious yellow hair in the crowd and muttered. It feels silly. Chojuro, Azi, Ami and others, who came to take the Chunin exam with the team next to him, all secretly relieved. Fortunately, the troubles in the team did not fight. Otherwise, I really don't know how it will end. After all, this is not my own village, but the strongest village in the ninja world. And it's at a brigade beside the street, in a room facing the street. 3 groups of 2 men and 1 woman wearing Sand Shinobi forehead protector also saw everything that happened in the middle of the street. Konoha, Cloud Shinobi, Mist Shinobi, are all Omura with extremely strong military strength. It seems that the one who took the exam this time is Genin, who is the strongest in all shinobi villages. With a conspicuous durian head, Tamari turned his eyes to look at the 2 younger brothers in the room and smiled. Right? Kankuro, Gaara. However, one of the 2 younger brothers adjusted the puppet in the left corner of the room, and the other closed his eyes in silence on the right. Did not answer her at all. Promise money, but because of Gaara's special status, it is always not going well. At this moment, a green snake at the end of the eaves beam behind Xuan Che spouted. It's getting more and more lively. Xuan Che squinted at the Sarutobi tribe in the distance and sneered. Entering Konoha, the number of genin villages who came to participate in the Chunin exam increased day by day. Green Snake didn't dare to talk too much, turned into white smoke and returned to the summoning world. Xuan Che said with interest. Among them, he can see familiar faces from time to time. Although she acts as a lubricant between the 3 sisters and brothers as much as possible. Is it necessary to ask me for such a trivial matter? Let him handle it himself. Master Xuan Che, Master Orochimaru discussed the matter with you before, and I hope you can. In the Senju clan, Xuan Che sits on the top of his house and looks at the street outside the clan. Yes, Tamari couldn't help but shook his head secretly. After all, I can't hide. Sarutobi Old Man, Chapter 193. The Chunin exams held twice in the past are not unusual for most people. But this year's Chunin exam has some special significance for Xuan Che, who is a traveler. After all, this can be said to be the first climax of the plot in the original book. When he realized that the Chunin exam was coming, Xuan Che suddenly reacted. It's been more than 40 years since I crossed into this world in a blink of an eye. Orochimaru has decided to take this Chunin exam and must have a break with his teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen. I have to say that even Xuan Che doesn't bother to care about this group of people. But there are other hots who have to constantly trouble Sarutobi Hiruzen. No way, who told him to owe too much debt. To be honest, even without Orochimaru, if Uchiha Shisui were not for the character of a virgin, he would seek revenge on Sarutobi Hiruzen. Even in the original work, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not die in Orochimaru's hands. When Sasuke learns the truth about the annihilation in the future, he will find Sarutobi Hiruzen just like killing Danzo. After all, there were too many enemies in the past and too many things committed. However, Konoha's collapse plan is nowhere to be seen. Not to mention the current Orochimaru has no reason to launch this plan. And even if he wanted to, he didn't have the courage, let alone the strength. But when it comes to the Chunin exam, Xuan Che thinks of one more thing. That's about Akatsuki, or the most important people behind Akatsuki. Nagato, Obito, absolutely. These three are undoubtedly the key in the key. And Xuan Che's main target is Nagato. After all, Rinnegan in this kid's eye socket is the key. After all, as long as he ruined his eyes, a series of incidents would disappear. So after Itachi joined Shao, Xuan Che gave him the only order. It is to find out where Nagato is hiding. Unfortunately, however, just as Orochimaru said, whether it is Obito or Nagato, who controls Pen, Kirigakure has been taken back by Xuan Che and others 4 years ago. He never met with other members as the deity. Every meeting also showed up with a slideshow technique. It has been more than 3 years since it joined Shao, but it has been difficult to investigate Shao's new base. This is why Itachi has never let Shisui come to kill him. Advertisement: he wanted to at least complete this final task before he died. Konoha Shinobi School, in a large stepped classroom. Compared with the number of original books, at least half the number of candidates crowded the large lecture halls. Although the first written test of cheating to test detection and counter-detection capabilities was quite interesting. But compared to the era of war-torn environment until 5 years ago, Naruto and his generation are so comfortable. You know, even Obito's crane tail is already Chunin at this age. Ruined, facing the test paper that looked like a heavenly book in his own eyes, Naruto held his head in his hands, only feeling like sitting on pins and needles, and his whole body convulsed. Sasuke and little Sakura on the seats on both sides of the rear frowned secretly. Naruto, won't you be fainted? In another staff office downstairs from the first examination room. Kakashi, Yurihong, Rin Nohara, Might Guy and other classmates, but also Gai John and 4 people gathered together for a long time. Might Guy shouted passionately. Long time no see, my forever rival, Kakashi. Today, let us run 100 laps against Konoha's fiery sunset in the village. Kakashi didn't bother to pay attention to this idiot, clasping Jiro's legs and putting his hands on his knees, facing the second woman who was sitting opposite. I don't have to guide my subordinates to carry out tasks, it's really idle, right? Lin, Hong. Nohara Lin was eager to answer. Next to him, Yurihong suddenly smiled. Is it impolite to call my aunt by her name? Nephew Kakashi. Kakashi rolled his eyes wildly, and the horns under his mask couldn't stop twitching. To be honest, when he learned that 2 of his classmates and his uncle had obtained the certificate, almost a mouthful of old blood came out. Even if Kakashi didn't want to admit it, the facts were before him. Obito became like that, there was a big reason, that was his uncle who was so troubled with flowers all day long. But Kakashi didn't intend to say more. After all, the thing about men and women is that you love me. Lin doesn't like you, Obito, and you can't hold Komodo on someone's neck and force them to like you, right? Okay, can you stop talking about this topic? Lin Nohara changed the subject with a blushing face. However, this year's candidates are very interesting. We Konoha not only have Hokage-sama's son and Uchiha's descendants, but also the current children and the next Mizukage candidate from the village. The next Mizukage? Kakashi and Might Guy were stunned. Advertisement: the Bai of the Shui clan is the child who looks like a girl. Shirihong curled her lips and said, Terumi Mei, that scheming BCH, wants to throw Mizukage's position out quickly, and then she can come to Konoha and live a shameless life with Xuan Che. Kakashi's eyes twitched uncontrollably again. Terumi Mei and his uncle are in a serious husband and wife relationship, right? And the wedding was officially held. After all, Shirihong and others are both at odds with each other. No need to call someone a scheming BCH, right? But think about how Terumi Mei moved to his uncle's house in the future. Kakashi couldn't help covering his face. He was already able to imagine the scene of the future. It's been a long time since I saw you. How is Uchiha in Cloud Shinobi Village? At home, Tsunade is still lying on the bed. Since resigning as Hokage, she has completely become a salted fish. Fortunately, his body and appearance have not changed. Old women also have a girlish heart. Xuan Che leaned lazily on the pillars beside the courtyard walkway, and summoned a sophomore as a backrest. Yu Yu looked towards the courtyard on the right and said the name of the man kneeling there. Shisui. After the age of 20, the temperament of the whole person appears more mature. Once Konoha forehead protector was replaced with Cloud Shinobi forehead protector, even Konoha's green vest was replaced with Cloud Shinobi's white style. At first glance, although I am a little uncomfortable, it doesn't matter if I look at it for a long time. The latest information from Itachi. Shisui's summoned a crow. The crow's beak slightly opened, and then spit out an ultra-small scroll. Xuan Che's expression didn't seem to be any surprise. It has been more than 3 years, and Itachi has not brought back much useful information. The top day is which core team member Akatsuki recruited inside. For example, Deidara, who joined 2 years ago, in the last few internal meetings of Akatsuki, Pain, or the Nagato you were looking for, Master Xuan Che, didn't participate. Upon hearing this, Xuan Che said that he was not sleepy anymore. Chapter 194. Shisui and Itachi's summoning beast crow belong to the same family, and it is relatively easy to exchange information with each other. But even so, Itachi sent too little information about Akatsuki. It's not just because Obito hides so well, it was difficult for Itachi to obtain substantive information, because Akatsuki had also implemented the strictest internal monitoring on him. Hoshigaki Kisame will not say anything. As the person who knew the true face of Obito's mask, Obito recruited him to Akatsuki. While using him, he also regarded him as the #1 object of defense. The guy Nagato is still too tender after all. He gained Rinnegan's power, which made him blindly confident in his own power. The two people have different ideas in the final analysis, and sooner or later they will fight on their own. Shisui's face changed slightly when he heard Xuan Che's words. After a few seconds, he exclaimed, "Master Xuan Che, you wouldn't mean that Obito gave the leader of Akatsu?" "No, this is not true." Xuan Che raised his hand and signaled that Obito didn't need to continue speaking. Xuan Che himself was hesitant about this matter. If it was the same as the original, Obito gave a Sharingan to Kakashi. Caused a vacancy in his left eye. Then Xuan Che can be sure that the crazy kid will find a chance to kill Nagato and put Rinnegan on him. But the situation is different right now. Both eyes of Kamui Mangekyo are in his hands. Even many Mangekyo abilities can be called Kamui with bud-level skills. The blessing of the eyes is enough to exert the power that is not inferior to Nagato Rinnegan. Would Obito abandon those eyes in order to get Rinnegan? Xuan Che is difficult to determine. Master Xuan Che. At this time, an Anbu member suddenly landed in front of Xuan Che and reported. Master 4th Kazekage, who just visited the village, wants to meet you in person. That guy Orochimaru. Xuan Che narrowed his eyes slightly and said after a few seconds. Forget it, let him see me. Although Konoha's collapse plan could not be carried out, Orochimaru still found an opportunity to slaughter Luo Sha, and then came in troubled waters. Xuan Che doesn't care about Luo Sha's life or death. Advertisement he didn't think it was a good thing anyway. The reason why Xuan Che's face is irritable is that he simply thinks that Orochimaru does not need to bother himself with such trivial things as Sarutobi Hiruzen. The Anbu team and Shisui retreated at the same time. More than 10 minutes later, wearing a white robe, Losa, with a hat of wind and shadow on his head walked into the courtyard of the mansion and said in Luosha's original voice. Long time no see, Xuan Che-kun, I've already said, don't you and Sarutobi old man's little mess not bother me? Xuan Che looked impatient. No, I brought new information. Orochimaru responded with a weird smile, then his face turned into a V*********. Last week, my base in Tanokuni was attacked by Akatsuki. The research materials in it were all captured by Obito's brat. The pupils of Xuan Che's eyes also rose slightly. Obito, that kid again. The second examination with Mitarashi Anko as the chief examiner has begun. Able to carry the two scrolls of heaven and earth to successfully resist the team in the central tower, and then compete with other teams in the central tower for the third exam. This is the previous Chunin examination system, but it was just before. Since the Konoha Alliance Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi two large villages. The third assessment was replaced by a large martial arts venue in Konoha Chuo district. So that nobles from various countries, wealthy businessmen and other high-level personnel can pass the Chunin exam to judge the strength of the new generation in each village. So as to determine the selection bias of the task delegation object in the future. Compared with the original work, Orochimaru did not send the Konoha spy trio headed by Yakushi Kabuto and the Atonin trio. Instead, there is a combination of two teams from Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi. Presumably, by the time of the finals, the battle lineup will change drastically compared to the original. In the absence of being abused by Itachi blood, Orochimaru has no special attachments to Sharingan. After all, there was a monster like Xuan Che around him since he was a child, and he felt that Uchiha's pedigree seemed nothing remarkable. If possible, he would prefer to target Nagato, who owns Rinnegan. At the same time, in the ancient city on the moon where the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura lived. Advertisement 0 Find Flowers 3 uninvited guests were ushered in. Is none of them alive? It really is a bunch of rubbish. In the palace, I saw the wreckage of a place floating in the air. The little man with a short head and an innate arrogance in his tone said to himself. Behind them are a big guy who is 3 pointers bigger than third Raikage. With a tall and thin man who condensed the red chakra into a fishing rod-shaped weapon with a smirk on his face. The same characteristic of the three is the pure white outfit all over the body. Regardless of skin color, eye pupils, and hair, they are all pure white. From this alone, it is enough to distinguish their identities. The Otsutsuki family. Otsutsuki Peach style, Otsutsuki Gold style, Otsutsuki Ura style. The three have always acted together. After countless investigations, it was finally found that after Hamura and Hai jointly sealed Kagaya. Move his descendants to the moon and seal the Gedo statue here. The three people with the purpose of resurrecting 10 tails and replanting the sacred tree immediately came here. However, there is no one here, and even the Gedo statue guarded by the descendants of Hamura disappeared without a trace. The Gedo statue is gone. Holding the fishing rod, Otsutsuki Urashiki turned his head to look at the empty sealed ground behind, and said with a weird smile. Presumably because of this reason, their clan and branch house split. In order to protect the Gedo statue, Hamura was also aware of these trivial matters of dividing descendants into the branch house of the clan family. What happened on Earth? Someone summoned the Gedo statue away. The little man floating in the air Otsutsuki Momoki turned his head coldly. In that case, go to the earth. Are you going to act now, Master Taoshi? The Otsutsuki Jinshi, who wrapped his whole body like a zongzi, only half of his face frowned. I don't need to investigate the specific reason first? That kind of place, there is no village that can withstand our clan. Otsutsuki's peach-like eyes were full of disdain. Recover all the chakra that was split into 9 parts by Yuya, so that after the sacred tree is resurrected, the traitor Kagaya will be sanctioned. Chapter 195. 3 days passed. When a group of high-level Konoha headed by 5th Hokage Namikaze Minato saw these candidates gathered in the central tower of the Dead Forest, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. All 9 freshmen who graduated from Konoha Shinobi School this year passed. In addition, there is also the combination of Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee and Tenten led by Might Guy who graduated last year. The other are the 3 Fukage, as well as the 3 of Mist Shinobi and the 3 of Cloud Shinobi. This year's new students are surprisingly strong. Neji frowned and looked around, and said inwardly, there are too many people, this is not good. Namikaze Minato scratched his face awkwardly, and thought to himself. There were 21 people, and I did not expect so many candidates to pass the second test. If you want to participate in the final with this number of people. By that time, it was better than the year of the monkey. It's a pity, everyone, because there are too many people, so now we need to temporarily add an additional test. The Shiranui Genma, holding the roots in his arms, walked out of the team and explained to the candidates. The final is not just a simple test, but also a means to show the strength of the villages to many powerful figures in the ninja world. To stand in the finals, only the elites of the elites in the villages are needed. Too many people will only be cumbersome, and half of the people must be eliminated here. How is this? As soon as these words came out, Haruno Sakura, Ino and other weak-tempered girls immediately wailed in their hearts. But there is no alternative. Hurry up, idiot, Naruto yelled happily. Namikaze Minato chuckled and shook his head, motioning for Shiranui Genma, who was the referee, to start. The large screen at the top of the G in sculpture at the rear quickly turned, and a line of subtitles appeared after a few seconds. Uchiha Sasuke vs Omoi, although I don't know whether the old fox Sarutobi Hiruzen has any dark box operations for these groups in the original book. But Namikaze Minato wouldn't be able to do anything about this mess. But the first round was the descendant of the Uchiha family, and it did earn enough attention at the beginning. After a total of several hours of duel between 21 candidates, 11 candidates passed the additional test and successfully advanced to the final. Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, White, Ghostlight Watermoon, Hyuga Neji, Aburame Shino, Karui, Gaara, Tamari, Kankuro, and Hyuga Hinata. Advertisement Hinata was lucky because the total number of players in the game was odd. Promoting to the finals without fighting has caused many scarred candidates to grit their teeth and become jealous. Shikamaru, who originally inherited the family's high IQ, was quite unlucky but ran into the White who can also rank among the best in this group of freaks. You know, Terumi Mei trains him as a 6th Mizukage. Although it is impossible to reach the level of Naruto and Sasuke in the 4th Ninja Wars. But in the early stage, there was basically no problem with the Genin group except Gaara and 5th Gate Shaoli. Rin Nohara, who was the instructor of Jonin, patted Shikamaru on the shoulder and motioned him not to be disappointed. Shikamaru just rolled his eyes and said that he didn't care. But none of her team made it to the finals, and Rin Nohara still couldn't help but feel a little lost. The second is Akamichi Choji vs Karui. Once a low-level contest, it ended in Karui's narrow victory. I don't know what happened later in the original work. How come these two people who are unable to fight will get married later? The Chunin exam is also a grand ceremony. In order to invite dignitaries from various countries in the ninja world, a month was deliberately set aside to welcome the arrival of envoys or representatives from various countries. At the same time, it also gives the students who have undergone 2 consecutive assessments one last time to relax. Namikaze Minato temporarily put aside his official duties and taught his son ninjutsu by himself. After all, he wants to show his strength in front of many big people, and his son of Hokage can't be ashamed. Summoning technique. On the outskirts of the river, when Naruto imitated his father, bit his thumb and put a palm behind the ground. Bang! White smoke filled. Namikaze Minato glanced in surprise. Did you make it? The smoke dispersed. Under Naruto's palm, a tadpole popped. Tadpole, tadpole? Namikaze Minato almost couldn't hold back the swearing. Although I know that Nine-Tails chakra easily interferes with Xuan Che's normal chakra cohesion 0. But this will not be that simple question. This kid really has no talent. Advertisement, then, let's change it. In order not to jeopardize his son's self-esteem, Namikaze Minato bluntly changed the subject and took out a water polo from behind. In reality, however, he thought too much. How could Naruto be hit? 1 month's time. The dignitaries from various countries in the ninja world visited Konoha one after another. Among them, there are many business tycoons from the rich side, and nobles who dominate the side. These people are big rich people who have issued a level and above commissions to Shinobu village. In other words, it is Party A, although in Xuan Che's eyes, they are all fat sheep. They came here to see the strength of the new generation in each ninja village. To determine which village should be considered first if you make a commission in the future. In previous years, there won't be so many big shots. But this year, the lineup is completely different. Let alone 5th Hokage's son, but also a descendant of Uchiha. The sons of the new generation of Ino Shikacho, the three sons and daughters of Feng, are even rumored to be the most likely descendants of the next generation of Mizukage's snow clan. These are the pillars of the future Shinobu village. They must take a good look. Husband, Senju clan land, in front of Xuan Che's mansion. Terumi Mei soared into Xuan Che's arms and kissed hard on tiptoes. Hinata, who was watching, blushed and was about to boil water. Hey, can you pay attention to some influence? There are children here? Yurion rushed forward angrily and forced Xuan Che and Terumi Mei away. Oh, isn't this red? I haven't seen it for a few years, my temper is still that bad. Terumi Mei, with one hand on her hips, twisting her body like a beautiful snake, chuckled and teased. No, stop arguing, you two. Rin Nohara stepped forward with a wry smile and stood between the two. Here again, this familiar feeling. Whenever Terumi Mei and Yurion quarrel, she always acts as a peacemaker in the middle. The Walru Trio, gather again. Chapter 196. A month's time is not long, not short. The third final exam arranged at the Konoha Central Martial Arts Arena finally arrived. Terumi Mei, 5th Mizukage, who was a target of the Konoha Alliance, also visited Konoha. But there is nothing serious about it. Basically it is to make a villain at home. The assistants and guards who followed Terumi Mei to Konoha also knew this kind of thing in their hearts. The 27-year-old young Mizukage has been eager to train the next successor in the past 2 years. Ghosts can guess what the reason is. It is the same as Nawaki, Kakashi and others imagined. The life of Xuan Che's family of chickens and dogs has begun. You know, Terumi Mei and Yurion have not dealt with each other since they first met. It's a bit of a replica of Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. The day of the finals finally arrived. The seats with the best viewing angles were taken over by nobles and business tycoons who served in honors. What they discussed was nothing more than, son of Hokage, descendants of Onai Uchiha, son of Feng, and similar topics. Haruno Sakura, Ino, Tendon and others, who were eliminated in the extra test, sat in the general audience. Wow, there was a violent noise from the crowd. Seeing that many people around turned their heads and looked behind them. The eliminated Xiaoqiang such as Haruno Sakura also subconsciously turned his head and looked back. At the top of the auditorium, 4 thrones were placed. One of them has been seated by 5th Hokage Namikaze Minato. After Namikaze Minato, 2 more people arrived one after another. The first is a man in a white robe with a hat of wind on his head. The moment Gaara, who was standing in the players' stands, saw that figure, the indifference in her eyes instantly turned into hatred. 4th Kazekage, Luosha. Then, another white-haired man with a hat of thunder arrived. It looks like Mrs. Kakashi, Haruno Sakura exclaimed. Of course, Reikage is Kakashi-sensei's father. Ino spit out silently. Huh? I never heard the teacher say it. Haruno Sakura turned his head to look at Kakashi who was standing on the next step in amazement. Well, it's not something worth saying. Advertisement. Kakashi retracted his gaze from his father and shrugged. The main reason is that the way my father became Reikage is a bit bloody, for these children who grew up in peaceful times. Too exciting. After the 3 celebrities gathered, until there was less than 1 minute left before the start of the match. A beautiful lady with enchanting figure, ruddy complexion, and lazy temperament all over came walking leisurely. The troublesome person is here. Kakashi secretly said inwardly, withdrawing his gaze faintly. Master Mizukage is here too. Namikaze Minato showed a bright smile like the sun as always. The scene where the 4 shadows gather is rare. Remember that in history, the 5 shadows met, and there was only one time when first Hokage distributed the tail beast, right? Terumi Mei moved her bangs before her eyebrows and sat lazily on the last stone chair. Isn't this great? At least it can guarantee absolute peace in the shinobi world during Xuan Che's stay. Hitaki Tsukumo smiled. He had just finished speaking, and Shiranui Genma, who was the referee, loudly announced the official start of the final in the center of the lower court. First round. Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Hinata. Oh, is it little Hinata? Seeing such a list of matches, Terumi Mei, who used to make small artificial eyelids to fight straight, instantly became energetic, and looked straight down at the battlefield. I want to see the strength of Hokage-sama's son. Rosa glanced diagonally at Namikaze Minato. I won't let Master Feng down. Recalling the painful experience of educating her son this month, Namikaze Minato was crying without tears. Naruto, if you lose, don't you know what will happen? Naruto's most feared voice rang from the audience. Looking at the red shadow on the left side of the auditorium, Kushina held her hands in front of her, screaming. Naruto shivered suddenly and said inwardly, never lose. At the same time, Hinata in the opposite position was also searching for something in the audience. Suddenly saw a figure walking slowly from the entrance, and the pretty face flashed with surprise, then secretly squeezed his fist, and the same thought as Naruto emerged in his heart. Never lose, start. Unexpectedly, Huo Xuanjian raised his hand, waved it down in the next second, and said 2 words. Hinata, I won't be merciful. Naruto put both index fingers and middle fingers together to make a cross. Advertisement. The other party is the same chief student as Sasuke, but compared to Sasuke, who pretends to be the heir, Hinata's sense of existence is really lower. To be honest, Naruto didn't take her too seriously. Bang. 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 In one breath, more than 20 shadow clones were visually differentiated, and they rushed towards Hinata. Is it a shadow clone of the forbidden technique level from the beginning? Many Konoha shinobi people secretly commented. Faced with shadow clone, which is hard to see through even with his eyes, Hinata took a breath and calmly put on a gentle fist starting position. In the eyes of outsiders, Hinata's movements are like flowing water. Hit countless shadow clones acupoints with the smallest amount of boxing. One after another, the smoke spread out. Is that little girl the strong one? Tamari in the players' stands clenched the iron bars in disbelief. In addition to the second exam, Hinata advanced by. Therefore, most of them did not see Hinata's strength at all. But to be honest, that girl doesn't look like a strong one in temperament. It feels like that, can cry for a long time with one punch. The deity. It's that. Hinata suddenly rolled his eyes, and the blue veins around the corners of his eyes violently bulged, locked in the second Naruto from the left on the right. Wash away smoothly like running water. 8 trigrams punch. Naruto's eyes changed suddenly, and Hinata was caught off guard. Ended. Next to Xuan Che, Yurihong, who was Hinata's guide Jonin, smiled confidently. Not necessarily, Kakashi laughed back. Bang! At this time, Naruto, who was blown out, turned into a whirlwind and dispersed. Hinata's eyes flashed with surprise. Wind-style shadow clone. Injecting the attribute chakra into the shadow clone can withstand stronger shocks, and is a level that can't be distinguished by even the advanced Sharingan and the white eyes. I won. Behind, the real Naruto yelled in excitement and jumped to the dead corner of Hinata's head. Okay, Naruto won. Haruno Sakura raised his arms and shouted. Sasuke's face in the players' stands also flashed with joy. Xuan Che smiled slightly. I underestimated Hinata. Chapter 197. It's a tiebreaker. When I saw Hinata being revealed by Naruto with wind-style shadow clone, he attacked Hinata's blind spot. Almost everyone at the scene thought so in their hearts. Hinata is underestimated. Xuan Che laughed lightly. In the next instant, Hinata's hands were left and right, and they evolved into 2 chakras of black and white in contrasting colors. The delicate body spins violently, transforming into a yin and yang sphere that compares black and white. What is that? Whether it's Hyuga Heishi in the audience, Hyuga Hanabi, or Hyuga Neji in the stands. It is another Konoha shinobi who understands the gentle fist method of the Hyuga family. Seeing the weird yin-yang chakra sphere, his face suddenly changed. Back, revolving heaven. No, then no, not just revolving heaven. Hyuga Neji whispered in shock. Because Hyuga Hisashi was not dead, he did not hate the clan like the original. But as a branch house, the relationship with the clan is not much better, and I don't usually have much communication with Hinata, who is the heir of the clan. It was the first time he saw this weird revolving heaven of yin and yang. Affected by the storm of yin and yang revolving heaven, Naruto, who was the deity, was pushed out one after another and hit the 50-meter-high wall behind the martial arts field. About 2 seconds later, he fell heavily. Just now, what was that? What? Naruto barely got up, but he didn't have time to think about it now. Reluctantly supporting his body, he bowed and stood up. No way, use that. Naruto once again wanted Kyuyan to use his best shadow clone, and then use his nirvana to decide the outcome. However, don't move, Naruto-kun. Behind him, an unforgivable shoulder passed Naruto's shoulder and pressed against his neck. Naruto shifted the focus of his pupils back in shock. Another Hinata. No, this is shadow clone that I am best at. While using that strange revolving heaven, I also used shadow clone. Neji said in disbelief. There is no need to fight anymore, little master. Shiranui Genma reminded with 1,000 needles in his mouth. Advertisement Naruto had just raised his hands, and Naruto dropped his hands in a loss before the crossmark was formed. Victor, Hyuga Hinata. Shiranui Shuenjian raised his hand and announced. The fighting time was not long, but there were still bursts of applause. The little girl from Hyuga's family is very strong. And 5th Hokage's son also showed the ability not to shame his Hokage lousy. Although it is far from shocking, it is worthy of the word, exciting. Boy, you lost the first game. Kushina rolled up her sleeves with a grin, and Naruto shrank her head in fright. Going back tonight, won't you be beaten up? Kushina, calm down. Uchiha Makoto, who was next to him, held Kushina with a helpless smile, and repeatedly dissuaded him. The second game, Tamari vs White, hurry down. Shiranui Genma cast his gaze to the player stand above. Are you a candidate for the next Mizukage? There is also the daughter of Master Fungying. This is also a very interesting battle. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. It's too early to cultivate successors at such a young age, Master Mizukage. Hitaki turned his eyes to Terumi Mei next to him. Ah, people will become old women if they don't come to match their husbands. Terumi Mei looked resentful. Hitaki said nothing. He didn't want to get involved in such things. Suddenly, as one of the 9 tails Jinchuriki, Kushina's face changed slightly, and she looked towards the east of the martial arts field. The 4 purple beams of light soaring into the sky only pushed into the sky, and after a few seconds, they formed a huge purple rectangular parallelepiped shape. That is 4 Xian formations. The face of Uchiha Makoto beside him couldn't help but change slightly. After the 2 women, more and more spectators in the auditorium. All found this scene. After all, in broad daylight, that thing is too conspicuous. That direction is the family land of Sarutobi and Shimura. Namikaze Minato, who is Hokage, and Tsukumo Hitaki, who is now Raikage, are aware of deeper problems. Namikaze Minato stood up from the stone chair and immediately waved his hand to order the suspension of the exam and proceeded to investigate. It's just that someone is practicing sealing the enchantment, it's not a big deal. At this moment, Xuan Che's voice faintly sounded. Advertisement. The volume is extremely flat, but it is very clear to the ears of thousands of people at the scene. Follow the exam, then play. Don't worry about it. Upon hearing Xuan Che's words, the tumultuous crowd gradually calmed down. As the referee, Shiranui Genma hesitated for a while and had to shout again. White and Tamari, hurry down. Two women, oh no, a girl and a fake mother heard this. Without saying more, he jumped from the stands that were more than 10 meters high. And Namikaze Minato, who just stood up, is not sitting for a while, nor is it fighting, which is particularly embarrassing. Didn't I say it? Continue to fight, Xuan Che's voice came again faintly. Only then did Namikaze Minato's leather back sit back in position. Whatever you say, it's just what you say. After the Nine Tails incident 12 years ago, the Shimura and Sarutobi clan lands shrank a lot. At that time, Orochimaru escaped because he could not defeat the two big clans headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen alone. As Orochimaru said, he was about to pull his face again. At this moment, in the residence of the patriarch Sarutobi, Orochimaru added her lips and said to the old man in front of him. That is, the inner central area of the Scythian formation, no money. It's been a long time, teacher, why are you getting old again? 3. No, the fourth one, how? Do you want to see your son's face? That's okay. But it also caused a lot of trouble for the two groups. Visually do not exceed the young age of 30 years. Especially the ordinary people of the two races, they were killed by Orochimaru. You. Damn alien, Orochimaru raised her right hand and counted with her fingers, not quite sure. This is the first victim of your low-level ninjutsu? When Orochimaru finished saying this, he pulled the skin of his face down and fainted. That is. The face of a woman. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. In such a scene, Sarutobi Hiruzen instantly recalled the scene that looked like a nightmare 12 years ago. Compared to you, I am getting younger and younger. Sarutobi Hiruzen burned in anger. Chapter 198, Stop it. Sarutobi Hiruzen yelled, and suddenly took out two shurikens from his back and threw them out. And entered chakra into it in the next instant. In an instant, the shuriken expanded to 100 times its original size, and dashed across two arcs from left to right towards Orochimaru, who was pulling his face. He didn't want Orochimaru to show his son's face again. He never wanted to see that picture again. Wow, wow. The huge shuriken hit Orochimaru's left and right arms one by one. The whole person slumped down like mud in an instant. However, the next second, the fallen body suddenly opened its mouth. Another Orochimaru crawled from it all over, looking very sick. Ya, I can't make a joke, Mr. Sarutobi. The newborn Orochimaru climbed up from the ground with a whole body of slime, and his exposed face had changed back to the form of the deity. Forget it, let's face you directly with this face. Orochimaru chuckled and spoke, but the next second the front of the conversation turned instantly. However, I have a new gift for you. Snapped. Orochimaru's hands clapped together suddenly, and two corpse coffins suddenly rose from the soil in front of him. This trick is... Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed suddenly. As the former Hokage, the man in charge of the Book of Seals. How could he not know this trick? Even in the Book of Seals, it was evaluated by the second generation as the forbidden technique in the forbidden technique. Use is strictly prohibited. Why Orochimaru would use this trick? There are only two possibilities. First, when Orochimaru was still in Konoha village, he stole the contents of the Book of Seals. Second, after he defected, someone showed him the Book of Seals. Have you always colluded with Konoha's senior management? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of something, gritted his teeth and roared. Hey, Orochimaru let out a sneer and said, you are really old, Mr. Sarutobi, it took so long to react. Do you think I can enter here so easily, just through secret techniques? Not only Sarutobi Hiruzen, but the surrounding Sarutobi tribe and Shimura family ninjas can't help but think back to 12 years ago, when Orochimaru attacked the two tribes last time. They always thought Orochimaru was taking advantage of the Nine Tails chaos to attack. But now it sounds like someone inside Konoha is in harmony with him. Advertisement, okay, the gossip ends here, my time is also very precious. Orochimaru clapped his hands and poured chakra into the coffin. I also want to solve the trivial matters here as soon as possible. Click it, accompanied by the injection of Orochimaru's chakra. The coffin began to make noises, and in the two coffins, each had a hand to lift the lid of the coffin, and two figures walked out of them. In this scene, the expressions of the Sarutobi and Shimura tribes, headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen, changed greatly. That's Shinosuke-sama and Asuma Master, a Sarutobi Chunin exclaimed. That's right, the face was dusty, and the skin surface was dry and cracked. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't look like a living person. The two who walked out of the coffin were the two sons of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sarutobi Shinosuke and Sarutobi Asuma. Where is it? Asuma, who was gradually regaining consciousness, turned his head left and right. First, I saw Sarutobi Hiruzen who was completely dumbfounded on the other side, and exclaimed. Dad? Is that Dad? How did you become so old? Immediately, Asuma noticed Sarutobi Shinosuke next to him, and exclaimed again. Big brother? Asuma? Sarutobi Shinosuke recognized him for a while before identifying the other party's identity. After all, when he died, Asuma was still a kid under 10 years old. Brother, Hitaki Xuan Che killed you, right? He and Orochimaru also teamed up to arrest me. Asuma yelled. Okay, two of you, you are all dead, just enjoy this family gathering. Orochimaru smiles and manipulates the movements of two Sarutobi. It is different from the strong like Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama. One Jonin and one Chunin, Orochimaru doesn't need spell paper at all, it can be controlled directly with chakra. Isn't it interesting to keep them conscious, but have to fight their dying father? Okay, let's get started. Orochimaru suddenly outputs chakra. The expressions of Asuma and Sarutobi Shinosuke suddenly change, and at the same time they close. Fire-style dragon fire technique, wind-style palm of gale. Sarutobi Shinosuke and Asuma perform ninjutsu at the same time. The fusion of wind and fire exploded with a stronger force, whizzing towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, after all, it is just the cooperation of Jonin and Chunin, it is impossible to threaten cage level. However, if the opponent is his father, that is not necessarily the case. Sarutobi Hiruzen was still in a daze and didn't react at all. Advertisement, Master Hokage, be careful. At this time, a nearby Sarutobi Chunin quickly smashed Sarutobi Hiruzen away, and was killed in the flames and the screams. Sarutobi Hiruzen fell to the ground in 2 steps. Only then came back to his senses. My 2 sons really wanted to kill myself just now. Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen's anger rose to an unprecedented level. Come on. Orochimaru laughed, winner, white. Half of the area inside the martial arts field is covered by frost. Tamari collapsed to the ground weakly. Shiranui Genma raised his hand to announce the result of the second round. Impressive. Countless viewers secretly commented. It's almost like seeing the 3rd Mizukage of the year. It seems that I can take over the role of 6th Mizukage soon. After Shiro and Tamari returned to the contestant platform, Shiranui Genma shouted again. In the sky, a small dark purple near black dot expanded continuously in the void. Next to Namikaze Minato, Hitaki Shumo bowed his head and said nothing. In the end, almost swallowed the entire sky above the martial arts field. This topic is not easy to follow. Uncle, who do you think can win this game? The next second, Kakashi's expression changed suddenly. Many dignitaries have begun to bet secretly, whispering about who will win this event. There was another noise on the scene. The 3rd round, Uchiha Sasuke vs Gaara. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Kakashi turned to Xuan Che and asked. Terumi Mei smiled. This one is also very interesting. Kaka raised her eyebrows and looked up at the sky. A descendant of the Uchiha family, and Gaara, who is known as the first person of Sand Shinobi Genin and the son of Kazekage. However, it was discovered that Xuan Che was staring at the entire sky above the martial arts field. Chapter 199. What is that thing? Witnessing the abnormality above the sky, Namikaze Minato, Hitaki Sakumo and others stood up in the audience. From the deep purple and black space, 3 pure white figures gradually emerged. That's the same as you, Grandpa Marora. The moment Hinata in the player's stand saw the true colors of the 3 people through his eyes, he recalled the ancestor who imparted his power to him. It looks like. In other words, in the eyes of ordinary people like them, the guys of this clan look bad not much. Suddenly blue veins burst out around the corner of the eyes of the headed Otsutsuki Peach style. In the field of vision, from the left and the right of the auditorium, 2 foxes are staring at themselves. It was actually divided into 2, Otsutsuki Peach style frowned. Then catch one more time. Otsutsuki Urashiki's expression was as rampant as ever, and he suddenly shook the fishing rod in his hand that was a fusion of the yin and yang dual attributes chakra. Like the chain of the Gedo statue, it has the ability to directly extract the tail beast from the body of Jinchuriki without the need to unblock it. In the next instant, the long line of the fishing rod with the hook flew out hundreds of meters. The first goal is Naruto. A yellow golden light struck. Covering Naruto with a bewildered look, he disappeared with him in the next instant. Makes Otsutsuki Urashiki short. Tisk, Otsutsuki Urashiki curled his lips when he saw this. Grow your eyes. Many members of the Hyuga family in the audience were secretly surprised. The guy with white eyes dared to attack Mr. Hokage's son, which is not a good thing for Hyuga. Don't forget the fate of Uchiha after 9 Tails attacked Konoha. This group of troublemakers. Xuan Che scratched his head, stood up from his seat, and waved. 5 to 5, let everyone back. Uncle, this is Kakashi. Kakashi spit out helplessly. Although I don't know the identities of those guys, it is certain that the position is hostile, right? Hitaki Shumao also fell from the auditorium and stayed beside Xuan Che. Just kill them all. For the troublemaker Otsutsuki, whether it is the 1,000-year-old zombie sage of 6 paths, or Otsutsuki Kagaya, he has no slight feelings. Advertisement. The moment Xuan Che's voice fell, Zanpakuto around his waist suddenly came out. The eruption of flames formed a blazing sphere like the sun, separating the auditorium from the battlefield inside. Burning the city. This power. The face of Otsutsuki Momoko, who was so arrogant that even Otsutsuki Kagaya didn't pay much attention to it, changed slightly. He doesn't know how long he hasn't felt this way anymore. The main reason was that he felt that his absorption ability of Rinnegan was unable to absorb the flame. Master Xuan Che, one of the targets just now was Naruto. Namikaze Minato held his son and jumped beside Xuan Che. You two come with me, and the others will evacuate the crowd. Xuan Che said with his back to Hitaki Shumo and Namikaze Minato. But to be honest, even two cage-level peaks can hardly compete with the Otsutsuki family. If Namikaze Minato still has half of 9 tails in his body, it is still possible. But even Rinnegan is a standard feature for almost every Onoki. But there is also some waste, and I have not used it as a second-hand picker like Nagato. The more important reason is that Xuan Che is too lazy to play with 3 albinos alone. The moment Xuan Che's voice fell, the red sun that wrapped the entire battlefield opened a gap barely enough for 3 people to pass. Mr. Xuan Che, Hinata ran quickly, breathing quickly. Then, those people are, it will take a lot of time to explain. Xuan Che rubbed Hinata's little head and said, now you have not reached the level of participating in this kind of battle. Hinata lowered his head and nodded. Ming, send these moneybags to a safe place. It will be very troublesome for them to die here. Xuan Che waved to Terumi Mei with the other hand. It's really going to call people, okay. Terumi Mei's left hand is akimbo, and her right hand moves the hair before her lower eyebrows, which is even more enchanting. Go. Xuan Che turned around and stepped into the burning city first. Hitaki Tsukumo and Namikaze Minato followed closely behind. Immediately, the entrance closed quickly. Outsiders cannot see what is going on inside. Even the Hyuga people who have opened their eyes are the same. It's an exaggerated flame, but who are those guys? Zero Fine Flowers advertisement. Sasuke raised his right hand to block it in front of him. The center of the field was like a fireball of the sun, making him feel that he was about to be burned in the next second. Sasuke. Get back quickly. A figure suddenly fell, pulling Sasuke's arm and backing quickly. Sasuke turned to see the opponent's face, and said in shock. Brother Shisui. Boom. Suddenly, the flame ball that had only covered the field suddenly expanded rapidly and swallowed it together with the auditorium. The wall made of marble was melted into a crystal shape in an instant, and then dissipated in the next instant. Sasuke's face melted, had it not been for Shisui to pull herself away. Then my own fate. These people don't look like ordinary people. In the burning city, Hitaki Tsukumo fixed his eyes on the opposite Otsutsuki trio, and said inwardly. The eyes of the Hyuga family. How come? Don't worry about superfluous things, and kill them quickly. The moment Xuan Che's last word, fell, it disappeared from Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Shumo. Shen Luo Tianzheng? Oh, yes, you also have Rinnegan. It's just obvious that Otsutsuki's golden body is better. The powerful repulsive force gushes out, forming an invisible protective cover, forcibly resisting the blade. No way, the ninja line is to eat blood. Son. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Flying Thunder God Technique. Make the blade at a distance of only about 2 centimeters from the throat. Both sides are melee types. On the other hand, Namikaze Minato has thrown a large number of Flying Thunder God Trigeminal Kunai, and the goal is directed at Otsutsuki Urashiki. And Hitaki Tsukumo is the Otsutsuki Gold style aimed at the last person. Appeared in front of Otsutsuki Momoshiki and slashed his throat. He immediately wanted to cut down his first level. Under the impact of Shenluo Tianzheng, this man hasn't fly out yet? The guy who was about to capture Naruto just now has aroused his hostility. Intentionally or unintentionally, Xuan Che turned his gaze to Otsutsuki's peach-like hands. And even more surprised is the Otsutsuki peach-style side. Can't move on anymore. Otsutsuki peach-style eyebrows twisted. Chapter 200. Even in Cloud Shinobi Village, I learned the lightning-style chakra armor technique passed down from generation to generation by Reikage. Hitaki Tsukumo, who has reached the peak of cage level, the highest level of bloodless ninja. In several fights with Otsutsuki Gold style, it is still at a disadvantage. And when the opponent uses yin and yang to escape chakra to create countless weapons, every move becomes unpredictable. He was completely at a disadvantage. The next move, Otsutsuki's golden style throws the giant hammer in his hand, as if being controlled by a magnetic force. The red giant axe evolved from the yin-yang escape chakra seems to be alive, and automatically falls into his hands. Otsutsuki slammed it down with a golden axe. Hitaki Tsukumo's face suddenly changed when the lightning-style chakra broke out, and he said inwardly. This guy, the speed is so fast, Chidori reflow flash. Hitaki Tsukumo backhand turned his 987 blades and burst into 1,000 birds turbulence. Chakra's white fang short blade swelled under the thunder and lightning turbulence to a giant thunder spear, and hit the opponent back. The two sides were deadlocked for about 3 seconds. Immediately, the Otsutsuki Gold style stepped back several meters, and Hitaki flew back several tens of meters. Not only the speed, but also the strength. Am I inferior? On the way down, Hitaki said inwardly, and then the focus of his pupils suddenly tightened, forming a cross mark like Naruto. Lightning-style shadow clone. The thunder light splashing from the surface of the body turned into another Hitaki Tsukumo. He pulled the deity and dragged it to the ground abruptly to stabilize his body. But I am not completely out of chance. Hitaki Tsukumo and the nearby lightning-style shadow clone looked at each other and attacked again in the next instant. Among the three, Namikaze Minato was the first to end the battle. Otsutsuki Urashi, although it can also use part of the abilities of Yin Yang Dun and Rinnegan. But his fighting talent is simply terrible. It's almost equivalent to Hidan in Akatsuki's organization. Hidan is also very poor in combat quality, even slightly less than Sarutobi Asuma in the original book. Relying on immortality. The same is true for Otsutsuki Urashi. His physical fitness and fighting ability are not strong at all. It was solely relying on Yin Yang Dun and Rinnegan's partial ability to reach the pinnacle of Kage level. Advertisement: if these two items are removed, I am afraid that the level of quasi-shadow will not be maintained. Why catch Naruto? Namikaze Minato stepped on the back waist and neck of Otsutsuki Ura style with both feet in tandem. The left hand squeezed the opponent's arm with a grappling gesture, and the right hand used the Flying Thunder God Trident to hit the Otsutsuki-style throat. Although Xuan Che gave the order to kill directly. But thinking of the other party's act of shooting Naruto with a targeted purpose just now, Namikaze Minato still wants to figure out the reason before doing it. Hey, you were actually given to by such inferior humans, but don't think you have won. Suddenly, Rinnegan with Otsutsuki Urashi-style binoculars radiated a coquettish red light. The surrounding space began to turn into fragments, and rapidly evolved into a black hole, sucking in everything around it. Ninjutsu. Is it the same as Obito? Namikaze Minato's expression suddenly changed when he stepped on the back of Otsutsuki Urashiki. The sense of sight of this trick made him immediately think of Obito's Kamui. Are you going to use this trick to escape? Under this circumstance, Namikaze Minato didn't care about questioning the other party's purpose of catching Naruto, so he picked up the knife as quickly as possible, and prepared to send Otsutsuki Urashiki directly on the road. Shen Luo Tianzheng, Otsutsuki Urashiki said indifferently. The powerful repulsive force rushed in and directly shook Namikaze Minato into the air. You be asterisk 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 D. You gave me that kind of insult just now I want to get them all back. The Otsutsuki Urashiki, who was freed from the bondage, gave a grinning grin, and shook the yin and yang fishing rod, ready to go straight to the soul of Namikaze Minato. Songming, Xuan Che's indifferent voice suddenly sounded. Irregular tornado-shaped wild flames suddenly fell from the sky, causing Otsutsuki Urashiki's expression to change suddenly. Shen Luo Tianzheng, as a last resort, Otsutsuki Urashiki had to give up the pursuit of Namikaze Minato for the time being, and switched to Shinra Tensei to resist. The repulsive force formed a protective shield, making Kuang Yan unable to swallow his body. But immediately, Otsutsuki Urashiki was surprised to find out. These fires were not extinguished and scattered. It is like a Tarsus maggot, wrapped around the repulsion shield. Just waiting for the effect of Shenluo Tianzheng to end, he closed it up again and burned himself to death. Advertisement. It's so troublesome. Otsutsuki Urashiki secretly gritted his teeth, and turned his eyes to find that the white robe on the other side of the sky had burned a lot, slightly embarrassing Otsutsuki Peach Style 0. Can Momoshiki be so embarrassed? Has the non-Otsutsuki ninja on Earth reached this level? You forgot to remove the mark of Flying Thunder God. Suddenly, Namikaze Minato's voice rang from the back of his head. Actually appeared inside the protective cover, recalling the ability of the confrontation with the opponent just now. Otsutsuki Urashiki's expression changed suddenly, and he turned to look at the side of his neck. There is a line of characters printed there. It is the mark of Namikaze Minato's Flying Thunder God. Ordinary ninjutsu can never erase the mark of Flying Thunder God, but Yin and Yang can. During the previous battle, Otsutsuki Urashiki eliminated the Flying Thunder God mark that Namikaze Minato left on him several times. Wraith. Namikaze Minato's right hand, wind-style spiral shuriken was ready, and suddenly threw it out. Seeing wind-style spiral shuriken close at hand, Otsutsuki Urashiki shouted inwardly. Damn it! Is it time? At this moment, the Shinra Tianzheng who broke through the Otsutsuki Uriah style penetrated along with his abdomen. However, just when Namikaze Minato stepped on him, it once again left the mark of Flying Thunder God. Wangshen Hirazaka, Xuan Che, floating in the air, said amused. It's over completely in this way, but there is no way. Cough. Binocular Rinnegan turned blood red again, and Otsutsuki Urashiki tried to open the space again to escape. Using the spiral shuriken at such close range is quite dangerous for him, an ordinary ninja who does not have the Nine Tails mode. A lot of blood was spurted from the mouth of the Otsutsuki Urashi along with the mouth in the abdomen. 1-point Arankar, which condenses the ultimate flame to 1 point, a condensed fire whose principle is very similar to 3rd Raikage's Hell Stab. Hey, I didn't expect you to have red blood. I thought the Otsutsuki family had white blood. And this time, he forgot to eliminate Otsutsuki Ura's chapter 201. Inferior creatures, I will make you pay for it, Otsutsuki Momoshiki roared. Watching his companions be killed by the inferior creatures they had always looked down on, Momoshiki was obviously resentful. But now, under Xuan Che's pursuit, Dao Shi is in a panic, let alone killing Xuan Che. The Otsutsuki Gold style had the upper hand, and Hollow played directly in the gap of his battle, trying to remove Otsutsuki Urashiki from the battlefield. They obviously underestimated Xuan Che's ability to control the field. His action Xuan Che directly shattered his idea. This Xuan Che, who was originally fighting against Dao Shi, unexpectedly Shadow Clone came to Otsutsuki Jin Shi to block. Although Namikaze Minato was still upset about Otsutsuki's attack on Naruto, but compared to this, he learned the lesson just now and ended up Otsutsuki directly. After solving one person here, Namikaze Minato also helped Hitaki to deal with the Otsutsuki gold style according to Xuan Che's will. And Xuan Che's shadow clone also disappeared. Under the suppression of Xuan Che's shadow clone just now, Otsutsuki Jinshi seems to be aware of the horror of these inferior creatures. Although Xuan Che uses shadow clone, its strength is no less than the ability of a shadow. Obviously, the distribution of chakra in shadow clone is not what he perceives. 2 fists are hard to beat 4 hands, and the Otsutsuki golden style is obviously not optimistic. And the Otsutsuki peach style that fully coped with Xuan Che was even more embarrassed. Deep into the panic caused by the arrival of this uninvited guest to Konoha, Xuan Che ended the battle quickly. Compared to the peach pose, which is the most capable of the 3, the Otsutsuki gold pose is obviously easier to break. After some estimation, Xuan Che teleported directly from the Otsutsuki peach style to the other side of the battle. The Otsutsuki golden style, which was already struggling to deal with, completely collapsed after the addition of Xuan Che, a strong player. Chidori. Heavy flashes. The Otsutsuki golden style was pierced through the abdomen by Hitaki Tsukumo's giant thunder spear. Suddenly blood rushed out, and his eyes were full of incredible expressions. Advertisement: he didn't expect that the people who had come to catch Jinchuriki would become fish on the chopping board to be slaughtered. Otsutsuki Momoshiki moved the position immediately after Xuan Che slipped away, but it was clear that there was still a lack of speed and timing. The original 3-on-3 match turned into a 3-on-1 scene. During the battle between the 3, Otsutsuki Momosaki came to the Otsutsuki golden side to fuse it with himself. Xuan Che didn't expect Dao Shi to perform this trick. All of a sudden, the situation of 3 against 1 became evenly matched. After all, the Otsutsuki peach-style binocular Rinnegan after fusion will become golden, and a third golden Rinnegan will be opened between the foreheads. This golden Rinnegan will be very different from the original Rinnegan. According to the development of the plot in the original book, the 5 photos combined after the golden Rinnegan is opened are nothing but scum. Not to mention that there are only Hokage and Raikage on the battlefield. Although the situation has suddenly changed, it has not reversed the outcome. For Xuan Che, the fusion of Otsutsuki peach style is nothing more than prolonging the fighting time, and it doesn't change anything. Xuan Che, who wanted to end the battle quickly, was reluctant to remobilize his chakra to distribute them. In the face of tough opponents, it is natural to use the principle of respecting opponents to show some of their abilities. Inferior creatures, your death date is here. Otsutsuki Momoshiki saw that the fusion was about to be completed, and couldn't help but burst into words with excitement. The people of the Otsutsuki clan were defeated by these humans one after another, and his heart naturally couldn't accept it. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Tsukumo want to prevent the Otsutsuki peach fusion. But this Otsutsuki peach style started the Shinra Tianjung before the fusion, so they couldn't get close to each other. And the battle lasted so long, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Tsukumo's chakra also consumed a lot. After a while, they are still facing a fierce battle, and naturally they can't continue to do unnecessary things. Xuan Che, who was beside him, kept his eyes closed without fear, and did not give any instructions. For this reason, the two naturally stopped acting rashly. Advertisement: according to Xuan Che's cognition, the Otsutsuki clan is proficient in the use of art. That being the case, Xuan Che naturally crushed the arrogant heart of these Otsutsuki peach styles who considered themselves superior. In the face of the inevitable battle that followed, Xuan Che planned to defeat it technically, use what they do best to deal with them. According to Xuan Che's impression, this fusion Otsutsuki peach style seems to win more than lose. But what Otsutsuki Momoshiki didn't expect was that such a close-range attack was avoided by him. This Otsutsuki peach style strengthened appearance, in Xuan Che's eyes, is an albino man crawling out after falling into the mud. It's not scary or ugly. After all, his original appearance is not much better. If you take it back now, maybe I can still let the 3 of you die together. Xuan Che floated to Otsutsuki Momoshiki and said politely. And in the following days, he will come to Konoha for trouble. And the 3 golden Rinnegans were also inlaid on his black and white face like gems. Xuan Che, who kept his eyes closed, also followed Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Shumo. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Inferior creatures, you quickly confess for what you did just now. Maybe I can still show mercy to let you live a little longer. Otsutsuki Momoshiki smiled wildly. There was no interference from Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Tsukumo on the Otsutsuki peach style, so it went smoothly. In response to this, the Otsutsuki peach-like face followed the ferocious face, and the golden lion-like hair was extended to tie Xuan Che. Instead of facing this difficult guy in the future, Xuan Che intends to put an end to it this time. After all, he is not a troublesome person. Why not do something that can be done once and for all? Just after Otsutsuki Arashiki was killed, he was burned to ashes by Xuan Che. His words clearly wanted him to frustrate his bones. In this way, both Namikaze Mizuno and Hitaki Tsukumo took a breath. After all, the aesthetics of Otsutsuki is somewhat different from them. Although they had seen the world, they were still surprised by the ugly appearance. After strengthening the peach pose, it is obvious that chakra is constantly surging in his body. This powerful force made him laugh more frantically. The long hair that was originally hanging not only grew but also exploded. The short bunny ears actually grew longer. The only thing that makes people think that the big change is that black lines appear on the white skin. When Xuan Che came to him, he was in his arms. Chapter 202. The merged Otsutsuki Peach-style chakra is not only very strong, its speed and strength are now hundreds of times the original. But the attack on his hair was so real that Xuan Che avoided it. Just now, Otsutsuki Momosaki was too complacent because of the fusion and ignored that Xuan Che had also changed. Xuan Che's body was glowing green at this time, and his veins swelled up. The veins on the exposed skin are like parts of thick and twisted large earthworms. Just when Otsutsuki Momosaki focused on fusing himself with the Otsutsuki Golden Chakra, Xuan Che also opened the sixth gate of his body. Sarutobi Mansion. After Sarutobi Chunin died, Sarutobi Hiruzen also returned to the fighting state. Although facing his two sons, Sarutobi Hiruzen can't think too much. In the battle between father and son, all those who participated in the war suffered but had to fight to the end. Orochimaru on the side stood without fear and admired the performance he had contributed to. Although the two Orochimaru manipulated were Chunin and Jonin, Sarutobi Hiruzen was no different. In addition, no matter how tough Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart is, he takes care of his child's body and does not attack him. But this taste is not a long-term solution. For this reason, Orochimaru bound Sarutobi Hiruzen with the arrival of the tree world and wanted to end the performance directly. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen unexpectedly summoned the Saru Demon King. For Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was at a disadvantage, it can finally take a breath. But Orochimaru is not good. He controlled the two and rushed up again. Saru Demon King, like Sarutobi Hiruzen, can't bear to hurt Sarutobi Hiruzen's two children. Although they are all dead, the body after death is obviously also very jealous. At this point, Orochimaru was even more unscrupulous. Shinosuke shouted for Sarutobi Hiruzen to kill himself again. Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more tortured inside, screaming at Orochimaru's name. This made his father kill his child again, which is obviously unacceptable. Moreover, although the bodies of these two people are controlled involuntarily, their thinking is still very clear. Sarutobi Hiruzen is extremely angry to see his child suffer as much as himself. Advertisement Orochimaru is very satisfied with the dramatic effect. Originally, what he wanted to end the performance was that Sarutobi Hiruzen himself summoned the Saru demon to delay the performance. But after this delay, it is obviously more exciting than just now. Sarutobi Hiruzen cannot be consumed forever. After all, the chakra of the two comes from Orochimaru and he only has himself. Coupled with this wave of battles, Sarutobi Hiruzen has consumed a lot. For this reason, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked the Ape Demon King to cooperate with him, using Shadow Clone technique to seal the two controlled persons in his body. Look for another opportunity to use the Ghoul Band to try to extract Orochimaru's soul. Originally, Orochimaru would stay far away when the three were fighting, but seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen has already consumed a lot of physical strength, he slackened and did not evade. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen would actually perform the sealing technique to seal the soul. Seeing part of his soul being drawn by Sarutobi Hiruzen, Orochimaru, who was originally arrogant and domineering, began to panic. He summoned his Kusunaru sword to stab Sarutobi Hiruzen. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hiruzen was unmoved at all. Why not hide? Orochimaru was surprised. At the end of the seal, my soul will also be swallowed. This is ninjutsu that must be killed. Let our souls fight forever in Shinigami's belly together. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen has lost the hostility he had just now, and his expression is very indifferent. After all, he doesn't care about life and death anymore, and there is nothing worth his attention. But Orochimaru didn't want to die. He cultivated the forbidden technique for immortality, but he didn't want to die just like that. Right now he was so horrified that he looked at his soul that was slowly being drawn out of his body, but he could do nothing but insist. The only thing he can do is wait. Wait for the moment when Sarutobi Hiruzen chakra runs out. The battle on the other side became more intense. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Shumo also followed Xuan Che to deal with Otsutsuki Peach style. In the physical contest, it is obvious that Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Sakumo can't fight Otsutsuki Momoki. But Xuan Che is completely different. Although he can't show the full strength of Might Guy, he is not inferior to the Otsutsuki Peach style. After a fight, Xuan Che clearly felt that the Otsutsuki Peach style now has a huge chakra in his body, but it has not been fully used. Advertisement now he is just like Uzumaki Naruto with 9 tails chakra, he doesn't understand the doorway used in it. So this seems to be a bluffing fusion. In Xuan Che's view, it is nothing more than that. Coupled with Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Sakumo's left and right pincers, the fusion of Otsutsuki Peach style is still an embarrassment. Although this is a shame for him, Otsutsuki Urashiki and Otsutsuki Gold are already living examples. Facing Xuan Che, who was suspended in the air and whose depth was unknown, Otsutsuki Momoshiki left a wedge mark and took the opportunity to escape. Hitaki Sakumo and Namikaze Minato cooperated with their skills to trap Otsutsuki Momoka. Nobody outside could see this scene of battle, but Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Sakumo who participated in the battle saw it very clearly. And this unfathomable Xuan Che is the main reason, Nua Chen Zhao, that he had to retreat temporarily. Xuan Che's abilities far surpassed everyone in the room. I am not afraid that there is no firewood to stay in the Green Mountains. After this contest, Otsutsuki Momoshiki naturally made a rough assessment of the abilities of this group of people. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But fortunately, he was on the side of protecting Konoha. otherwise Konoha would not know how many times he would be destroyed in the face of such an enemy. Decorated. But I didn't expect Otsutsuki Peach style to break free from it. At the same time, a group of things that looked like snakes but didn't want snakes emerged from the ground, biting and ramming at the three of them. He originally wanted to kill Otsutsuki Momoshiki along with it, but he didn't expect that he would take the opportunity to escape. Xuan Che didn't realize how much psychological shadow he had caused other people's Otsutsuki Peach style. The inferior creatures in his eyes obviously made him feel terrified. This behavior does not seem to be the style of the Otsutsuki clan at all. This is the opposite of what he looked like just after the fusion. His original confidence to dominate the heroes also disappeared. And as the battle ended, the big sun of the burning city also slowly disappeared. But this obviously didn't get the effect he wanted for Xuan Che. Thinking that there would be uninterrupted troubles in the follow-up, Xuan Che felt a little bored. Chapter 203. Hinata saw Xuan Che floating in the air unscathed, and the tension on her little face eased. Xuan Che immediately asked Chirumi Mei for the location of those purses. I've done errands for you, and I won't give them any rewards. I'll know to ask as soon as it's over. Chirumi Mei got into Xuan Che's arms with a look of anger. The people around this time looked at it and avoided their gazes. Chirumi Mei looks so angry that she is completely shy in front of her lover. If it weren't for the people of Konoha, it would be no surprise, otherwise it would have become a street news. Hinata looked at Chirumi Mei like this, and then flushed with her small face. It's a pity that Yurihong is not here at this time, otherwise Chirumi Mei and Yurihong will definitely make a noise again. Although the Otsutsuki matter has been settled, after this, under Xuan Che's suggestion, the next few finals will be held tomorrow. After all, those purses have been sent to sell down, and the tournament without them has lost its meaning for Xuan Che. After being entangled by Otsutsuki for a while, now Xuan Che is entangled by Chirumi Mei again. At this time, he can be described as languid. Now that the final was changed to tomorrow, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Tsukumo also left. Xuan Che played vigorously during the battle, but the two did not lessen their ninjutsu. This is also extremely costly for the two chakra. Uzumaki Naruto and Kushina have been waiting for Namikaze Minato. Although Naruto lost this time, Namikaze Minato was very satisfied with his performance. But this is not the case with Kushina. Just now because of Namikaze Minato, Kushina went to fight. Kushina didn't care about Naruto. But now he looked at Naruto with a smile on his face and said that he would give him a good compliment for his performance. The creak between the fingers made Uzumaki Naruto want to escape, but Jiji Moromu, his little movements Kushina can be seen in the eyes. Obviously, it is difficult for Uzumaki Naruto to escape Kushina's reward. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru were still consuming. It's just that the power to extract Orochimaru's soul is obviously weakened. Advertisement, it seems that it's still not as you wished. Orochimaru laughed defiantly. The result of this protracted war is already obvious. After experiencing a fierce battle, Sarutobi Hiruzen has not enough chakra to sustain him to end this sealing techniques. And Orochimaru's sword made Sarutobi Hiruzen burn out. It's a pity that I can't take you with me. Sarutobi Hiruzen let go of Orochimaru. Orochimaru's soul also returned to his body, but just as he secretly rejoiced, Shinigami slashed Orochimaru's hands and souls apart. But I will take away all your ninjutsu, and I won't let you use them to harm Konoha. After saying this, the seal technique appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's abdomen. Orochimaru's hands will be permanently sealed with his soul. With the end of the sealing technique, Sarutobi Hiruzen also gave his life. As he slowly closed his eyes, looking at the hideous Orochimaru, he would still want to see the pure and talented young man back then. After Orochimaru's hands were sealed, he naturally couldn't leave this place. Fortunately, his subordinates showed up in time and led him to evacuate. For the changes here, it was only later known to everyone. The grudge between Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen Xuan Che doesn't want to involve too much. But for Sarutobi Hiruzen's death, Xuan Che still can't help but think of where Konoha dances, fire keeps growing. The death of Sarutobi Hiruzen made Konoha very solemn. It was originally decided to put it in the final tomorrow, but it was postponed for a week later. For Konoha's incident, all forces also expressed their understanding. And Namikaze Minato, the fifth Hokage, was also buried for Sarutobi Hiruzen. At the funeral, Konohamaru, who had been at odds with his grandfather, cried with tears and knows. He would never have thought that his grandfather would leave him so suddenly. Now Konohamaru has lost not only his father, but also his grandfather. This was a heavy blow to him as a child. Namikaze Minato also said publicly that he would take care of Konohamaru's daily life and study. After all, young children still have a long future. Advertisement and Naruto's multiple younger brothers are also a good thing for him. After all, Uzumaki Naruto is extremely envious of a family with 2 children. According to his words, multiple people can also share more attention from their parents. This way he can also be less scolded. Kushina also agreed with Namikaze Minato's decision. Uzumaki Naruto saw that his parents had said so, so naturally he followed up and got close to his younger brother. Unexpectedly, even though he is not tall, he is not small at all. Especially at this time, I just kept crying and ignored Naruto at all. Xuan Che also came to the funeral, and he agreed with Minato's decision to adopt Konohamaru. After all, this Chirumi Mei is enough for him to drink a pot in his mansion, and it would be even more difficult for him to give him a child to take care of. Moreover, Xuan Che still likes the kind that is straightforward to deal with these homely styles in his tone. He can barely find anyone who can compete with him right now in Konoha. Because the continuation of the finals only took place a week later, those moneybags naturally indicated that they would go back and then come back. Those nobles can survive in Konoha for a few more days, but those business tycoons have no choice but to take charge of the overall situation. For them, time is money, and they can't just spend such a long time here at Konoha. They would rather make a few more trips than wait. Because of Konoha's occurrence, in order to show Konoha's sincerity and concern, Namikaze Minato sent some chunin according to Xuan Che's will to escort these moneybags to their territory. Otherwise, if there is any deviation in these moneybags, Konoha will be the trouble. And given them this guarantee, they would naturally be more willing to come to Konoha to make a commission. Xuan Che's decision can be said to be considered from a long-term perspective. After all, the purpose of the game is to make the moneybag better choose the client. After Orochimaru left Konoha, he did not contact Xuan Che again. But Xuan Che's mansion did not stop for a moment. Even if Xuan Che moved to Hitaki Kakashi, it was still the same bad luck that Terumi Mei was entangled. The most troublesome thing for Xuan Che was that Shi Rihong didn't know which of the tendons was wrong, and she followed Terumi Mei to mess around. Chapter 204 The death of Sarutobi Hiruzen can be regarded as following the plot of the original. But here, Konoha's Jonin discovered an unusual gathering of crows in a wooden house by the sandstone in the desert when he was out for inspection, and went to find out. But I never thought that the factors related to the death of Sarutobi Hiruzen were hidden under the group of crows. The Inspector Jonin went back to report to the captain of his team, and the entire team went to the cabin again to investigate. Inside the dilapidated wooden house there were 3 dead bodies. One of the corpses was still wearing Fang Ying's costume. Obviously, this Orochimaru can blend into Konoha smoothly, just by taking advantage of Funkage's identity. Looking at the corruption of the corpse, it was asserted that the Fang Ying 3 had been brutally killed by Orochimaru before the Chunin exam. The insects crawling between the corpses made this group of people shudder. They didn't stay too much, and went to Konoha to immediately report the news to 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. This 4th cage is already the pinnacle of cage level. One can imagine how terrifying the strength of the person who killed him. And this Orochimaru frequently attacked cage-level ninjas. They can't imagine what the ultimate goal is. Xuan Che is frequently taken care of by Shi Rihong and Terumi Mei these days. It can be said that he has lost his soul. If this goes on, he really can't bear it. After all, people who beat iron also need to rest. What's more, Xuan Che saved Konoha by the way when he was watching Chunin's performance. How could there be such a kindness and revenge? Fortunately, Yi Yuan Lin is still very well behaved, not as fanatical as the two. This can be regarded as a relief for Xuan Che. In his spare time, Xuan Che was also very curious. This Orochimaru did not contact him even once after leaving Konoha. When he saw the mark on Sarutobi Hiruzen's abdomen, he dared to conclude that Orochimaru was probably injured very seriously. After all, the insidiousness of Sarutobi Hiruzen is far beyond Orochimaru's expectations. It is conceivable that Orochimaru must have paid a painful price. Although he didn't really want to get involved in the grievances between them, right now they were in the same camp, so naturally he couldn't just ignore it. What's more, although Sarutobi Hiruzen's seal cannot be lifted for a while, Xuan Che naturally has his way to take a moderate approach. Because the final of the Chunin exam was only held a week later, the original team stayed in Konoha for the time being. What people didn't expect was that Gaara didn't know what was going on, and started to run wild. Gaara now, like in the original, has always lived in hatred. Although, love, is engraved on his forehead, his heart is full of hatred. Advertisement in front of the tail beast, all the powerhouses seemed very small. Namikaze Minato, who is Hokage, naturally came to the runaway site as soon as he learned the news. And Hitaki Kakashi went to Xuan Che to solve this problem. When Nine Tails ran away last time, Xuan Che solved it with one hand. At the moment, this Shuhei naturally has the same root and seeks Xuan Che to solve it. Go, without delay. This matter is now like rain in time for Xuan Che. As long as it is not the destruction of the world, he has no worries at all. The two women in the room looked at the flashing figure and kept muttering. The two people who hadn't dealt with each other unexpectedly coexisted in harmony when there was no conflict of interest. Breathing the long-lost air of freedom, Xuan Che felt bright. But for Namikaze Minato and others, this violent Gaara can be said to be a headache. And Temari and Kankuro are still guarding Gaara who is running away. Now for Gaara, it is impossible to tell the enemy from us at all. He is now watching whoever wants to kill it. Uzumaki Naruto was hiding in a safe zone watching all this, secretly glad that he was not like Gaara. How terrifying it should be otherwise. If you don't want to lose your relatives, it's best to come here right away. He has no self-awareness at all. I promise, it won't hurt his life. Xuan Che came to the air and watched Gaara, who had already used false sleep techniques, could not tell the difference. Said the two children who were aware of the situation. Although they are out of concern for Gaara, but now it is clear that I am concerned about using the wrong place. In the martial arts arena, Temari and Kankuro have not seen the power of Xuan Che. Seeing people like him say this, they naturally act in accordance with their consciousness. Otherwise, he angered this tough man, and he was undoubtedly hitting his gun and also taking his own brother along with him. 5 to 5, let everyone back. After Xuan Che finished speaking, he went up and fought with Gaara, who was violent. 0 Find flowers Hitaki Kakashi's side, and according to Xuan Che's instructions, let everyone out of the fighting range. As soon as the crowd left, there was a hill of sand piled up where they had been. Advertisement: I want to see Xuan Che's figure, but I can't tell it at all. His figure is too fast, even the existence of Namikaze Minato cage level can only glimpse a part of the afterimage. The body of this Shuhei was also constantly under attack and a pile of sand fell. The forest that was originally full of greenery suddenly became desertified. The people on the side were stunned when they watched the battle scene. Xuan Che's powerful abilities are well known, but it is surprising that the defeated tail beast can be suppressed in this way. Zero, as he promised Temari and Kankuro, Xuan Che has always been a Shuhei, and he has not moved Gaara, who is dozing on his head. After all, facing such a scene, most people would directly think of attacking Jinchuriki to punish the tail beast. At this point, Temari and Kankuro are full of respect for this strong Konoha. But even though Shuhei was in a state of being beaten, he didn't mean to stop at all. Everyone can perceive this, and Xuan Che has naturally known it a long time ago. The series of attacks he had just now looked a bit garish, but it was purely for warming up. Staying at home for a long time, it is rare to have time to stretch, and he will naturally not let go of this opportunity. Everyone would be even more surprised if they knew that Xuan Che used the tail beast uniform as a personal exercise before the battle. Xuan Che body flicker technique came to Gaara, who was doomed, and whispered a few words in her ear. The Shuhei, who was still running violently just now, fell apart with it. And Gaara opened her eyes and stared at the man in front of her. Instead of harboring hatred, it is better to protect people who identify with their existence. For people who have been in hatred since he was a child, he had never thought that someone would identify with his existence. But Xuan Che told him a lot, all of which are justified examples. Temari and Kankuro watched Gaara's return to normal and followed him up and picked it up, son. Chapter 205. Seeing Temari and Kankuro worrying, Gaara was surprised but then bowed his head and said, I'm sorry. Temari and Kankuro were shocked when they heard this. Gaara, who has always been alone and indifferent, would even say such things. After making such a fuss, he now consumes a lot of chakra and needs a good rest for a while. Xuan Che explained to Temari and Kankuro. Temari and Kankuro thanked them and took Gaara away to rest. Onlookers, including Hitaki Kakashi, were a little unbelievable about Xuan Che's tricks to subdue Gaara, who was running away. At first, Xuan Che kept hitting Shohei's body, then came directly to Gaara's side and stood still. This last look is very abrupt. You are still too tender, it's normal not to understand. Xuan Che didn't give too many explanations to all 999 people and left this sentence behind. Master Xuan Che, that's amazing. I will become a big man like Master Xuan Che in the future. Naruto Whirlpool shouted excitedly. He was a little far away from the battlefield, and there was no real people who saw him on the spot. But he knew that Xuan Che had defeated another tail beast and suppressed it back into Jinchuriki's body. At this point, Naruto was already admired, and while Naruto was still planning his future there, Kushina's high decibel sounded not far behind him. Since the defeat of Naruto in the Chunin final, Kushina's care for Naruto has been increasing. Even if Namikaze Minato reconciled it, Naruto could not escape the fate of hard training. Had it not been for the tail beast riot, Naruto had not escaped Kushina's control. Xuan Che happened to pass this area after leaving, watching Kushina's hard work and being a good person to show her the way. Now that he came out of the mansion, Xuan Che would naturally not go back to snare himself. He was able to figure out what these two women would say about themselves behind the scenes. But right now, Terumi Mei and Yurihong do not see Xuan Che come back, so they entangled Hitaki Kakashi. Naturally, Kakashi didn't know the trace of his uncle. After the tail beast was overpowered, he slipped first. The whole Konoha, whenever Xuan Che wants to hide, no one can find his place. Advertisement after all, his strength is now Konoha called second, no one dared to call first. Even the 5 shadows added up are not necessarily his opponents. Seeing that Hitaki Kakashi really couldn't find out the news, Terumi Mei and Yurihong turned to find Hitaki Tsukumo. If Xuan Che doesn't find his nephew, it is very likely that he is going to find his old brother to reminisce about the past. But unfortunately, their wishful thinking was wrong. Right now Xuan Che did not hide in the true sense, but stayed at Yi Yuan Lina. This place he didn't go to often made the two women hardly remembered. Compared with the enemies of Terumi Mei and Yurihong, Nohara Lin is much more docile than Xiaojiabiu. Xuan Che also feels sincerely that although Obito is a bit neurotic, his vision is really unique. Such a beautiful embryo has been worried about since when he was 6 years old. No matter how developed in the original work, Xuan Che only recognizes the present. Due to the last visit by the Otsutsuki clan, some buildings in the martial arts venue were damaged. They are all still being repaired now. But what made people never expected was that 2 members of the Akatsuki organization appeared in Konoha town during Konoha's repairs. Although they wore hats deliberately, their identities were exposed by the clothes on their bodies and the rings on their hands. And in Konoha, walking around wearing a hat is simply, there is no silver 300 taels. Since they appeared in Konoha village, the people in the village would naturally not let them leave easily. After all, the Akatsuki organization was made up of rebels, and every member of them was extremely vicious. For this reason, killing any of them would be considered a scum to sweep away this ninja world. Such as seen Hitaki Kakashi and Namikaze Minato are naturally indispensable. But what is surprising is that Mizukage Terumi Mei and Yurihong were unexpectedly assisted. These days when Xuan Che is missing, they make Konoha a lot of restlessness. Hitaki Kakashi and Hitaki Tsukumo both had headaches. None of the women they met in their entire lives were so tricky. They also admire Xuan Che's methods during this time. Such a temperamental woman is indeed not something ordinary people can enjoy. Advertisement as for Akatsuki's appearance in Konoha, it didn't take a while to spread throughout Konoha. Some people with weak abilities naturally go home to avoid normal battles. After all, they're help if they can't help protect themselves and not drag everyone down. Those who are more capable would naturally check whether there are other Akatsuki members around to avoid enemy attacks. Part of the collar is to support Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi. Xuan Che also learned the news from Lin Yi Yuan. In the original book, Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame did appear in Konoha village after Sarutobi Hiruzen's death, and Sarutobi Asuma and Yurihong were against them. And now this Sarutobi Asuma no longer exists, so will Yurihong play? And compared to the constant mutations in this world, Xuan Che can't quite determine the direction of the plot. He originally wanted to stay here until the Chunin exam finals began, but he didn't expect to have to leave early. After all, he will not tolerate anything that involves his Xuan Che woman. One's own people protect themselves. Xuan Che has always held this belief in his heart. And this is why Terumi Mei and others are so fascinated by him. In this world where strength is supreme, like Xuan Che, there is such a good looks, strength and favor. A woman who is really unable to find a second one. Xuan Che took Nohara Lin to the place where the battle was about to break out within a few seconds. When Terumi Mei and Yurihong saw Xuan Che come with Nohara Lin, both of them looked in disbelief. The reason why the two of them are here is to squat until Xuan Che shows up by himself. After all, whenever there is such a scene, Xuan Che will definitely appear. Even if he doesn't make a move, he will definitely not miss this good show. But the way he appeared on the stage stunned both of them. Seeing this, they naturally thought of where Xuan Che had been hiding these days. The business matters and the affair between men and women stays behind for the time being. Just as Terumi Mei wanted to say something, she was blocked by Xuan Che. When Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi heard this, they wondered if the person in front of them was Xuan Che. After all, this Xuan Che, who has always been the number one, male and female affair, even, business matters. As a strict wife, Namikaze Minato feels uneasy for the person in front of him. After all, the faces of Terumi Mei and Yurihong are not very beautiful at this time. Compared with the two Akatsuki members, these two women look more terrifying. Chapter 206. For the appearance of Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, Xuan Che did not act very surprised. Itachi appeared in the original to frighten Danzo and let him know that he was still alive, so that he did not dare to do anything to his brother Sasuke. But because of the previous butterfly effect, this world has no need to do so. So if Xuan Che's guess is correct, Itachi appeared purely because of the decision made by Akatsuki's internal deliberations. In addition to the two Konoha, the other Akatsuki members must have been distributed in different places to implement the plan at this moment. It's a pity that their wishful thinking will obviously not start. After all, Konoha is not the Konoha in the original book. Apart from the loss and grief that Sarutobi Hiruzen's death brought to the Sarutobi family, the others did not have much sentimentality. Coupled with the fact that one of the black swords and white Fang was also present, this battle seemed to everyone to be a crush of absolute strength. But what people didn't expect was that Xuan Che said that he wanted to do business, but he didn't want to help Konoha's people to solve the two people in front of him. Dried persimmon, where's your samahata? Take it out and I'll take a look. The 09 description of samahata in the original book is that it is a small fish attached to the belly of three tails. Its daily job is to extract 5 times the chakra from food and deliver it to three tails. Kirigakure's ninja sword is one of the 7 famous swords. Xuan Che is still very interested in taking a closer look. Hitaki Kakashi felt a little helpless when he saw Xuan Che and gave him another nickname at any time. Terumi Mei and Yurihong laughed when Xuan Che called the big man in front of them. The surrounding low air pressure suddenly eased. Namikaze Minato had to admire Xuan Che for this. Kisame didn't remember that he knew the man with long silver hair with a hedgehog head in front of him, but what this person said was very puzzled. After all, Samahata hasn't been revealed yet. When I was in Kirigakure, not many people knew Samahata. And now the white bandage on the outside of Samahata on his back has not been untied, and it is logically impossible for Xuan Che to see it. For this reason, even though Kisame heard Xuan Che's words, he did not respond. The two sides have been stuck in such a stalemate, and naturally it is not the best way to solve the problem. Namikaze Minato asked why the two came to Konoha. Naturally, Xuan Che didn't expect him to ask what valuable information he could ask for this lil Hanhan. Advertisement, but on the face of it, asking people about the authenticity of Konoha, unless they are flooded in their heads, it is absolutely impossible to tell them everything. Dried persimmons, did you take them out by yourself or me? Xuan Che was still polite at first, but he seemed to be more crippled when he laughed right now. When did uncle become so interested in a knife? Do you want to take the sword named Samahata as your own? Hitaki Kakashi looked at Xuan Che, who was a little abnormal, and thought to himself. The Zanpakuto on Xuan Che's body is already so powerful, if this allows him to get another excellent knife, it will be the direction of the double knife flow. By coincidence, this person uses a knife like Xuan Che. So the best way for two people to compete is to compete with a knife. Everyone in Konoha admires and fears Xuan Che's black knife. After all, such a powerful force is the easiest to become a fatal condition for determining the result. For this reason, whether this game can be easily won depends on whether Xuan Che participates or not. What he asked Hoshigaki Kisame just now was also confusing. If Hoshigaki Kisame keeps not taking Samahata, does Xuan Che really grab it? Konoha black knife, if your tone is not small, do you want to try the knife? Hoshigaki Kisame observed the effort for a while, and felt that the person in front of him seemed not to have a good relationship with the group of people behind. There is a long distance between everyone and him. And seeing Xuan Che with a woman as soon as he appeared, gave the impression that he was the kind of person who likes to spend time and drink. People with bad personal style will naturally not spare time to practice ninjutsu. For this reason, Hoshigaki Kisame, who has never felt the chakra atmosphere around Xuan Che, directly regarded it as the characters of the original. Dry persimmon, come, show your long knife, 100 meters long knife. This description seems a bit too much. If Hoshigaki Kisame has a 100-meter knife on his back, it will be the focus of everyone no matter where he goes. Kisame smiled and pulled his Samahata out of his back, and the white bandages that had been wrapped around it also scattered. Samahata's shape is not like a knife at all, but more like an inverted triangle mace. The black barbs made people shudder. Advertisement. What was even more unexpected was that a long red tongue protruded from the top of the knife. The tongue licked his fangs, as if he wanted to have a full meal. Those present who saw Samahata for the first time all had chills on their faces. Is this a knife or a monster? When Xuan Che saw that Samahata was not very different from the description in the original book, he was obviously a little bit lost. Sure enough, those who were close to Zu or those who were close to Mo. This Samahata is as ugly as his master. After Hoshigaki Kisame showed Samahata, Shunpo hacked it. The distance between the two is not very big. Kisame also smiled successfully. According to his prediction, this unaware that the tall and thick boy must have become Konoha's blood. But when he fell in Samahata, he was lonely. Xuan Che actually left the original position first. And his teleportation speed is obviously faster than Hoshigaki Kisame. Otherwise, he couldn't easily dodge it at Hoshigaki Kisame just now. Hoshigaki Kisame turned around, looking at Xuan Che with a smile in disbelief. He lifted Samahata and rushed over, but the result was still the same. Hoshigaki Kisame still couldn't hit Xuan Che, and every time Hoshigaki Kisame has an illusion that he is almost hitting Xuan Che. Hoshigaki Kisame became extremely irritable about this. The people around him and the tasks originally arranged by the organization were all behind him. This made him want to catch Xuan Che every time but fled at the last moment, obviously taking away all his attention. Itachi, who stood by, was obviously not interested in participating in the battle between Hoshigaki Kisame and Xuan Che. After all, people with a discerning eye can see that Xuan Che is playing Hoshigaki Kisame deliberately. As the top-ranked person in Akatsuki's organization, Itachi was deeply worried about this partner's mind. With this kind of IQ, I wouldn't know how many times I would die if it weren't for the outstanding strength. Naturally, other people were not interested in seeing Xuan Che's tricks, they focused their attention on another unexpected guest. Naturally, Uchiha Itachi would not say the purpose of this trip, chapter 207. But he is Konoha's rebellious ninja, and the ninja who is Konoha will naturally arrest him. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi nodded and rushed up together. Uchiha Itachi, who owns Mangekyo, is not so easy to deal with. In order to avoid Itachi's illusion, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi both deliberately avoided staring at Itachi. As long as you don't look at Itachi's eyes, you won't be caught by Itachi's illusion. This is also a way that Xuan Che accidentally talked about before. When fighting against Uchiha's Sharingan or Mangekyo, it is the safest way to avoid the eyes and fight. At that time, they just listened to Xuan Che's statement, and they didn't even think that one day in the future, they would actually need to use such a fighting method. But this does not depend on the person's movements, only the perception ability can be used to judge the opponent's moves and position. Obviously this is still extremely difficult for them. Fortunately, the two are extremely talented, and their perception abilities are more sensitive than ordinary people. For this reason, the two are equally equal in their rivalry with Itachi. Terumi Mei and Yurihong naturally have no interest in joining this level of battle. Seeing that Xuan Che was being chased all the time, Yi Yuan Lin wanted to go in and help. But it was unexpected that Terumi Mei and Yurihong, who were not participating in the battle, surrounded her. Although the two of them were a little annoyed by Xuan Che's deliberately hiding and avoiding them, they were most angry that Yi Yuanlin also helped Xuan Che lie to them. The two people who hadn't dealt with each other before, now they unanimously questioned Nohara Lin about the recent affairs between her and Xuan Che. Xuan Che naturally saw the development of Yi Yuan Lin after the battle. He was still very relieved that the three women did not participate in the battle. The reason why Xuan Che appeared here was because he was afraid that Shi Rihong would be injured in the fight with this dried persimmon just like the original book. Although he avoided Yurihong and Terumi Mei, he was still worried about their safety. Under the pressure of the two of them, Yi Yuan Lin had to shake out all the things that Xuan Che was staying with her these days. This lone man and widow coexisted in the same room, and he was simply playing card games. It is obvious that Terumi Mei and Yurihong have doubts about the authenticity of such a bland thing. Advertisement, however, Lin Yeyuan has always been a good-looking person with a good girl, and Yurihong, who is a best friend, has slowly turned from doubt to believe. Regarding this, the two women's arrogance towards Xuan Che also disappeared. Watching Hoshigaki Kisame's Xuan Che play with ease, the three women united to cheer for her husband. Let's fight this fight, why do you bring your own cheerleaders? When the rest of the people saw such a scene, they felt envy in their hearts. Hoshigaki Kisame has never been able to catch Xuan Che, and he feels very upset right now. Seeing the women cheering for Xuan Che, they even ed Samahata directly without being angry. In an instant, a black blade flashed and knocked Hoshigaki Kisami's Samahata back hundreds of meters. The black flame made Samahata let out an unspeakable wailing. The black flame ferret is naturally the most familiar. Go! Itachi threw away Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi and shouted at Hoshigaki Kisame. Xuan Che pulled out Zanpakuto and chopped out the flames of Amaterasu. It can be seen that the stupid thing Hoshigaki Kisame did just now obviously provokes Xuan Che. If they continue to fight, Hoshigaki Kisame will definitely be killed by Xuan Che. The mission of this organization was not completed and one member was lost. For Itachi, it was even more difficult to gain the trust of Akatsuki's commander. Going further, this might make it harder to find Obito's whereabouts, so Xuan Che did not know when the task assigned to him would be completed. Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Samahata's wailing. Naturally, he didn't mean to go on fighting. The two used Itachi's illusion to leave Konoha. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi, who had just been thrown away by Itachi, both looked at Xuan Che, who took the knife back into the scabbard with a look of disbelief. Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame can escape smoothly, and it must be Xuan Che's consciousness. As long as Xuan Che wanted to keep them, naturally they couldn't leave Konoha. Xuan Che did not give too much explanation. Since I didn't say anything, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Kakashi naturally stopped asking questions. After all, Xuan Che naturally has his own considerations for doing this. Seeing Xuan Che coming, Terumi Mei immediately twisted her graceful body and leaned forward. It was scary just now, but fortunately there's a husband. The babbling voice made the Shi Rihong on the side the same mockery as before. Advertisement Terumi Mei, who was in the arms of Xuan Che, obviously ignored the noisy evening red. The two men had just established their line and fell apart in an instant. Yurihong came up and pulled Terumi Mei out of Xuan Che's arms. This woman's battle is naturally not easy for the man on the side to intervene. As soon as the battle was over, Hitaki Kakashi and Namikaze Minato followed each other with their own affairs. Whirlpool Naruto finally sneaked out of the house to watch the excitement, but never thought that there were only two Obasans left at the scene fighting for the wind and jealous of each other's slander. In the next second, as the high-pitched voice rang behind him, the loss on Uzumaki Naruto's face turned into panic. He panicked and hurried into an alley. Otherwise, he doesn't know where the enemy is, and he doesn't know what kind of pawn to play next. Naruto, who didn't see the battle scene, was full of loss on his face. But where Obito is hiding right now, Xuan Che has never heard of it. After all, this sudden appearance in Konoha is not a good thing for Konoha and Itachi. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. For Xuan Che, his woman is his bottom line. This time Itachi came to Konoha to perform the task, and it must have been temporarily instructed. Otherwise, Itachi will definitely inform Xuan Che first. Although he didn't kill Hoshigaki Kisame just now, it was purely for Itachi to hide in Akatsuki's organization to help him find the trace of Nano's soil. Sure enough, Xuan Che's asterisk hadn't been hot yet, and someone appeared in the mansion on his back foot. After all, there are very few people walking around in the Senju clan now. It was obviously a wrong decision to rush out without knowing the enemy's bottom line. For the visitor Xuan Che, he was also very surprised. This person is not the one he expected. Change. When playing chess, the person who wants to win must predict the opponent's next move. In this way, the most accurate judgment can be made taking all situations into consideration. After Hoshigaki Kisame was beaten by Xuan Che, he was also afraid of him. Xuan Che returned to the mansion naturally to make it easier for those who want to find themselves. Itachi and the others would never have thought that the Jinchuriki they came to Konoha would be late. In order to prevent Kushina from catching up with herself, Shadow Clones suddenly produced multiple herself. Chapter 208 Hoshigaki Kisame escaped smoothly with the help of Itachi. But the black flame on Samahata did not disappear. Seeing her own Samahata screaming in pain, Kisame, who has always been invincible, also panicked. For this black flame, Itachi was naturally too clear. This black flame Amaterasu Uchiha clan knows best. In fact, he can help Kisame eliminate this black inflammation as soon as he leaves Konoha, but Kisame's behavior just now seems to him to be a lesson. After all, if it weren't for the fact that the mission hadn't been completed, it would be impossible for Kisame to leave Konoha alive if he acted like that. Everyone in the organization actually has a bad relationship. After all, others joined this organization not to seek partners. For this reason, Hoshigaki Kisame would not ask Itachi if he could solve it even in such a situation. What's more, Obito also instructed Kisame to monitor Itachi's every move in Akatsuki's organization. As a result, the two watched the terrifying scene of the black flame burning Samahata like that. The sharp thorns may also melt. If Samahata was originally a fish under the belly of three tails, then it is definitely developing towards the discovery of grilled fish. It's just that this dish obviously lacks some necessary condiments. It would be better if there is chopped green onion or sauce. Seeing that his weapons were about to disappear like this, Hoshigaki Kisame was anxious. He had no choice but to ask Uchiha Itachi, who had been in Konoha, for advice. This person spoke. Itachi also naturally sealed the black flame onto a scroll. Amaterasu is the flame of indestructibility. It is absolutely impossible to destroy it, but it is achievable to transfer it away. Without the black inflammation, Samahata also began to stop wailing. A long red tongue sticks out from between the sharp teeth to lick his own hard thorns. Hoshigaki Kisame didn't appreciate Uchiha Itachi twice. But at the same time he dared not provoke Uchiha Itachi. After all, since Uchiha Itachi was able to transfer this black flame, he naturally had a way to summon it. Hoshigaki Kisame is not stupid enough to send it to the door for others to bully. And just now in a corner of the battle scene, Ju said to himself and laughed, "This Konoha black knife is not without weakness." After I said this sentence, I couldn't wait to tell the news to the person with neurological problems. After all, knowing what the weakness of Xuan Che is, it will be easier to deal with in the future. Advertisement. This is extremely helpful for them to implement the final plan. It's just that they didn't realize that even though Xuan Che's weakness was exposed here, they couldn't easily touch it. After all, these women around Xuan Che are fierce one by one. Coupled with Obito's fanatical admiration for Lin Yayuan, it is even more impossible to do anything against Xuan Che in order to counterbalance Xuan Che. And this battle also let Konoha's people know the existence of Akatsuki organization. Now Xiaoqiang from various countries is still in Konoha, which naturally gave people in other countries a preliminary understanding of the Xiaoqiang organization. According to Xuan Che, Akatsuki was to take this opportunity to capture the tail beast. After all, there are 2 Jinchuriki-tailed beasts in Konoha now. The 9 tails and 1 tail made them eager to find the door. However, the development of this plot Xuan Che is really incomprehensible from the perspective of God. The Obito IQ after Blacken is no longer the stunned one at the beginning, so why would you still make such a low-level mistake? Because of the Chunin exam, members of all major countries stayed in Konoha. Choosing this time to let the Shao organization appear in the eyes of everyone, isn't it equivalent to telling the world that he is going to be an enemy of everyone? This is bound to make the plan to capture the tail beast more resistance. And the high-level leaders of Konoha countries, after hearing Xuan Che's remarks, also paid attention to the prevention of this Akatsuki organization. After all, each Jinchuriki is the ultimate battle weapon for their country. If fighting suddenly breaks out, these Jinchuriki are hot targets for snatching. After this turmoil, Xuan Che moved back to the Senju clan. Tsunade is not very welcome to Xuan Che, who spends his days hanging out with 3 wild foxes. But Nawaki was extremely enthusiastic. The eldest brother-in-law has always been so short that it is called a kindness. If it weren't for Xuan Che already married 4 wives, I really thought he even liked men. In this world where the strong are respected, people who don't like Xuan Che have their brains flooded. For example, Blacken's Obito, his head is definitely full of paste. Advertisement. But even though Tsunade said so, he was still at the mercy of Xuan Che at night. The 2 of them had a lot of fun. On the other hand, the Chang'an trio came to the outskirts and squeezed in the small wooden house where Xuan Che used to live. Although they are arrogant, they are still 1,000 miles away from Tsunade. There is no target for contention. The few people are not fierce enough to fight. At most, Terumi Mei and Yurihon verbally exchanged a few words, and Nohara Lin reconciled them. Such a scene makes one think of when the 3 of them were still older than Loli. At that time, they admired Xuan Che very much, but never thought that they would develop such a relationship with Xuan Che. However, if they were to return to the beginning of their love, they would still choose to admire Master Xuan Che. And I hope I can recruit some more to confirm this relationship with Xuan Che. Once they talked about these topics, Terumi Mei couldn't stand it anymore. She got up and went out to scream that she wanted to train by this kid as a 6th Mizukage. Otherwise, she would have to run back and forth between Konoha and Kirigakure. This long-distance relationship living in 2 places is obviously Terumi Mei doesn't want to continue. The appearance of Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame in Konoha also became the talk of Konoha. For this rebel, Konoha's description of him is not very beautiful. This caused Sasuke, who had planned to come out to practice, to hear some wind. But in the face of Sasuke's questioning, those people obviously didn't want to tell the truth. After all, the relationship between Sasuke and Itachi made them both jealous. Besides, with Sasuke's talents and abilities, they may not be able to play. Since there was nothing to detect from the mouths of passers-by, Sasuke naturally went directly to Hitaki Kakashi, who was involved in the battle. Even if others would deceive him, Hitaki Kakashi would definitely not do it. From Hitaki Kakashi's mouth, Sasuke also confirmed that Uchiha Itachi did appear in Konoha a while ago. The whole Konoha knew about this, only Uchiha Sasuke was concealed. Obviously this was instructed by the upper layers of Konoha. Chapter 209. But they didn't understand that the paper package couldn't keep the fire out, and Sasuke finally knew about this matter. I'm going to kill him. Sasuke's shoulders couldn't help shaking. The eyes that had been calm also turned red. The thought of what Uchiha Itachi did, Sasuke was filled with hatred. He didn't understand why his kind brother would do such a thing. When he was doing that, have you considered the situation of yourself and your mother? Hitaki Kakashi is also not good at telling Sasuke about the bend around. He didn't have much to say, so he stayed silently by the side. It is indeed difficult for people who do not know the truth about the Uchiha Itachi genocide. But Itachi's approach is not very appropriate, but it did let Konoha's prejudice and hatred of the Uchiha clan be transferred to him alone. Otherwise, Sasuke will now suffer from Itachi's experience of being isolated and stoned by others when he was a child. Teacher, I'm going out for a while, please approve. Uchiha Sasuke calmed down a little and said. Kakashi naturally understood Uchiha Sasuke's thoughts. Now that it is rare to see Itachi's whereabouts, Sasuke naturally wants to personally capture this rebel back to Konoha. He wanted to question this cruel brother. Why did he do this? Did he pretend to be good to him before? Why didn't even my father let it go? Hitaki Kakashi naturally refused to pass Sasuke's request. In terms of Sasuke's current ability, it is still far from dealing with Uchiha Itachi. In order not to hurt Sasuke's heart, Hitaki Kakashi dissuaded him that the final was about to start. And Kakashi also said that Sasuke will know his current ability through the game with Gaara. If Sasuke can't even beat Gaara Genin now, it's been a long time since I went to fight it with Itachi. For these words Kakashi said, Sasuke naturally calmed down a bit. But despite this, Sasuke still wants to meet Itachi. As for the result, he didn't want to think about it. At this time, Uchiha Mikoto learned that Sasuke ran to Kakashi in a hurry, and naturally understood that the news of Itachi's return was known to him. She has lost a son right now, and she doesn't want to die another son. Advertisement and Mikoto didn't want to see the scene of the two of them fighting each other. Although Itachi did commit an unforgivable sin, Mikoto, as a mother, still had a little hope for him. Kakashi's persuasion has shaken Sasuke, and the appearance of Mikoto completely cut off his idea of going to Itachi for revenge now. For this reason, Sasuke also began to prepare for the finals more carefully. He wants to see his current level of growth through this battle. Xuan Che has also heard about Urzuzi. Although he doesn't leave the house, Nawaki will report all the recent events in the town to Xuan Che. For Sasuke's abnormal behavior, Xuan Che naturally understood that it must be related to Itachi. This is the same as the plot of the original book. In addition to this, there are new things that are different from the original plot. Terumi Mei returned to Tsunade in the Senju clan because of the selected car, and instead held onto the white who had already defeated Temari and promoted Chunin. Knowing that it is already outstanding, Terumi Mei still has to hold on to others and keep practicing. He also taught all his ninjutsu to Bai. This is something that Terumi Mei wants to train Shiro into the next Mizukage, which is known to passers-by. But this training of talents must always be done step by step. This Terumi Mei clearly is to help. A young man who was in good spirits is now depressed. In addition, Bai looks like a girl, which makes people feel very distressed. In Shi Rihong's opinion, Terumi Mei just raised his dissatisfaction with Xuan Che on a child. If Xuan Che did not stay with Tsunade, Terumi Mei would not have the energy to toss a child. Naturally, Xuan Che knew this well, but he didn't have anything to do with Bai this child, and naturally wouldn't help him settle Terumi Mei. It's just that Tsunade and Xuan Che have been staying at home, and they don't think it is very good, so she sneaks out again to try her luck at the gambling shop. From Tsunade's point of view, staying with Xuan Che last night must have some luck with him. My luck this time is definitely better than before. As soon as Tsunade left the Senju clan, there was news from Yurihong. Now while Terumi Mei is busy, it is rare for Shi Rihong to be alone with Xuan Che for a period of time, and she will naturally not let it go. Zero Fine Flowers advertisement for the little girl from the Senju clan who informed her, Shi Rihong also gave a lot of rewards. Terumi Mei was obviously dissatisfied with Bai's performance these days, so after Bai made mistakes and annoyed her again, let the child go back to the cabin. Seeing Yurihong's visit, Nawaki naturally knew that he had left Xuan Che's room. Xuan Che's head was aching at the sight of Sunset Red. After all, she has already appeared, and another trouble will inevitably follow in a while. Sure enough, Shi Rihong's butt hadn't warmed up yet. Terumi Mei ran in angrily. When Itachi appeared in the village last time, Xuan Che thought Itachi would take time to report to him. Just when Xuan Che ended his symptoms, the uninvited guest came. In the previous games, Senju lost miserably, but she was defeated and fought repeatedly, and she didn't mean to stop at all. She thinks she will definitely be able to come back next time. Although such a scene is a bit too shameful, Xuan Che can't take care of it anymore. So the two began to quarrel in front of Xuan Che. Faced with such a scene, Xuan Che naturally made the two females surrender to their abilities according to the usual methods in the past. But the unexpected guest was not Itachi, but Konoha Genin who had never seen him before. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The last battle between Orochimaru and Sarutobi monkeys caused Orochimaru to suffer a lot, son. Fortunately, Nawaki had the vision to see to leave early, otherwise he would be a little bit overwhelmed if he saw such a scene. Naturally, Terumi Mei cannot tolerate this. Xuan Che is definitely the idol of all men. The convenience here is absolutely unique. When she returned to the cabin, she didn't see Shi Rihong. As soon as she turned her mind, she thought that Shi Rihong must have been looking for Xuan Che. And Tsunade in the gambling game has no idea what Xuan Che is doing at this time, or continue his prodigal business. This time he came to Xuan Che's mansion to deliver Orochimaru's secret letter to Xuan Che's hands. Its appearance is plain. Naturally, people will not particularly notice his whereabouts. Taking advantage of the skill of teaching his successor, he thought of monopolizing Xuan Che after the day. Chapter 210 Through Orochimaru's secret letter, Xuan Che learned that Sarutobi Hiruzen still used the secret technique of ghoul sealing to seal Orochimaru's hands. At that time, Sarutobi Hiruzen estimated that the things he was thinking about would die with Orochimaru. After all, Orochimaru is one of the culprits that caused Sarutobi Hiruzen to be so lonely. Thinking of the way his son Asuma's face appeared on Orochimaru's face, Sarutobi Hiruzen estimated that Orochimaru would not be honored in this world. But because of the lack of chakra in his body, he couldn't achieve the goal of ruining the same thing, so he sealed Orochimaru's hands and wanted him to live in the world as a waste. After all, as a ninja, Kiin can't perform ninjutsu without his hands. For this reason, Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks that such suffering is also a thing more vicious than death. Regarding the grievances between Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen, Xuan Che really didn't want to deal with it. But since Orochimaru has asked for the best, he is naturally not good at rejecting it. Xuan Che also wrote a secret letter to Orochimaru's cronies. As the person left, Xuan Che also burned the sealed letter that Orochimaru had given him. The next time he sees Orochimaru, he must mention that he should write a secret letter without sticking his saliva on it. The thought of touching Orochimaru's saliva just now made Xuan Che feel sick. The Otsutsuki Peach Style, who took the opportunity to escape from the moon, used the sacred tree and Otsutsuki's secret arts to resurrect the Otsutsuki Gold Style and Otsutsuki Ura Style that had been killed. And Otsutsuki Momoshiki also retreated from the original state of integration. They originally wanted to collect the tail beasts on the earth in one fell swoop, but they didn't expect to encounter such a mutation. This is called Xuan Che, the earth person, and his strength has exceeded their imagination. To this end, they have to make corresponding adjustments to the original plan. They plan to avoid Konoha and try other villages. If the inferior creatures on the earth were like Xuan Che, it would obviously be very tricky. But they also know something about the inferior creatures on earth, and those ninjas who kill each other do not seem to have such high attainments. So they plan to avoid Konoha where Xuan Che is located, and go to other countries to test the situation one by one. Advertisement by the way, look for the ghetto statue summoned away in the process of this temptation. At this time, Konoha, Chunin final day finally arrived. Those business tycoons were also escorted by Konoha shinobi to Konoha on the previous day. Just like the previous Chunin exam, the moneybags in Xuan Che's eyes are also sitting in the best position with great interest. Because Bai's game was over, Terumi Mei was sitting directly in the audience this time. A generation of Feng did such a non-compliant thing, but no one felt it strange. Even several other fifth-generation Aisha had no objections. After all, without Terumi Mei by his side, their ears are quieter. They are still interested in learning about this future duel of elite seedlings. Terumi Mei did not go to the VIP table, but squeezed directly beside Xuan Che and sat next to him. On the other side of Xuan Che are Yurihong and Nohara Lin. As for the other positions, they are the heads of the families. The game hasn't started yet, but their part is already extremely noisy. The irreconcilable conversation between Terumi Mei and Yurihong made everyone in the back row feel a headache. They finally understood why the shadows didn't stop Terumi Mei's unruly behavior. If they can choose, they would rather go to another location to sit down. If they didn't want to hear Xuan Che's evaluation of these little ghosts, they wouldn't gather around Xuan Che like this. No wonder Hitaki Kakashi chose the farthest position from the opposite corner of Xuan Che. Obviously he had anticipated the situation around Xuan Che a long time ago. Shiranuigan jumped from the high platform and shouted, "In the third round, Uchiha Sasuke vs Gaara." This battle was not completed in the original book. For this reason, Xuan Che, as a translator, is also very interested in this battle. After all, both of them are very strong. It is difficult to decide the outcome in the original book. After being called by Shiranui Ozan, the two also fell down from the high platform. Advertisement: the current Gaara has changed significantly from the previous time. His temperament is much softer than before. After the tail beast riots in his body, Gaara finally realized the meaning of his life zero. For this reason, he will not kill Sasuke like he did with Lee. However, the formation of sand armor around his body at a speed that ordinary people can hardly detect from the beginning is still a surprise to Xuan Che, who has played against the frame. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But Sasuke didn't intend to let Gaara go like this. He followed closely and looked forward to peeling off the sand armor from Gaara. But I never thought that Gaara would directly use absolute defense. Gaara was completely wrapped in sand, but Sasuke couldn't attack for a while. A sand shield rose up in front of Gaara, but didn't expect Sasuke to learn from Shao Li's previous confrontation experience and teleport directly behind Gaara to give him a circle. Seeing that Gaara had been locked in her absolute defense, Sasuke couldn't help launching an attack directly, but was stopped by the stab of absolute defense. As this continued, it was clear that Sasuke couldn't stand it either. When he thought of Itachi appearing in Konoha but he was stopped here to participate in the game, he wanted to end the battle quickly. Gaara also formed a third eye in the air to provide a combat vision for herself in absolute defense. But the whole quickly recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. After all, the use of sand armor at that age has not reached Gaara's level. However, Sasuke directly destroyed Sand Doppelganger in a circle, and then went to Gaara himself. This ring of force caused Gaara's sand armor to begin to crack and open a hole. At the same time, the sand shield formed a sand clone while receiving the shuriken. He wants to prove to Mrs. Hitaki Kakashi and his mother that he now has enough ability to deal with Itachi. At the beginning, Sasuke used his shuriken to test, but he didn't expect to be blocked by Gaara's sand shield. Sasuke didn't mean to stop here, and then bounced to go directly over the sand clone and attack Gaara directly. Unexpectedly, he was still stopped by sand clone. For this reason, Sasuke began to accumulate chakra in his left hand, preparing to use 1,000 birds to break through Gaara's absolute defense. Although Xuan Che knows about Gaara's subsequent growth and achievements, they are all from the original work. He is very much looking forward to the extent to which this dark eye small can grow in this world.